Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 4 of What If Naruto was in Star Wars and got a harem. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Obi-Wan and Anakin were explaining their plan to the clones on a hologram map in the hangar. Masters Krell and Tien will be supporting my troops in the south, while Anakin's battalion comes in from the north and takes out enemy reinforcements. General Uzumaki is in the east battling as well. It is imperative that we conquer the capital city as quickly as possible, and hold it. Obi-Wan explained before Anakin took a step forward. Our biggest problem is gonna be the local militia. The Umbarans have aligned themselves with the Separatists and are heavily armed. ARC Trooper 5s will be assisting my units on special assignments. Ready to do my part, General Skywalker. 5s with blue on his armor nodded before looking over at Rex. Nice to have you on board. Just like old times, Rex. Remember, Anakin, Cody, and I will be 12 clicks to your south. We're counting on you to take out those local fighters, or, I'm afraid, the capital will never surrender. Does my battalion have to do everything? Anakin asked with a sigh at his master while crossing his arms. You seem to always volunteer. The hologram shuts off as Obi-Wan leaves while Anakin gets on a gunship. Alright, let's go. Rex ordered the other clones. They flew to the planet, revealing its endless night before Anakin looked out at the battles below. There's a lot of surface fire. They ain't got nothing we can't handle, sir. Another clone said to Anakin before the turret was shot off. You hanging in there, Tup? Rex asked the clone beside him. So far so good, Captain. Naruto. Call in an airstrike on the enemy positions. Naruto said while he was in a gunship with Alpha, who nodded. We'll head towards either Kenobi or Skywalker's men to help them out. Naruto nodded and opened his mouth to speak just as the ship was hit. Boom. The ship flew down to the ground as the pilot pulled on the stick hard to try and gain control before they crashed. Naruto used the force to slow them down for a second before the ship hit the ground and slid as BD held onto the strap on his chest. Boom. The ship explodes before the door is pushed off, having Naruto fall to his knees, and cuts and burns healing. He groaned before stumbling out and fell down. He then looked around and saw men in black space suits and helmets walking toward him. He tried to move his left arm only to hiss as he dislocated it. He looked to his right and saw his blaster on the ground before pulling it in his hand via the force and shot each man before sighing and fell to his back. Not so uncivilized now, Obi-Wan, not so uncivilized now. Sir. Naruto slowly sat up to see Alpha and the others running up to him. Casualties. Bit and jam, sir. Damn it. Naruto cursed before looking to see Bones and stood. Dislocated my shoulder. It'll hurt worse going in. Yeah, just. Crack. Son of a bitch. Naruto cursed holding his arm. It's also easier if you don't expect it. Anakin. Don't stray too far. The enemy could have the whole place rigged with traps. Anakin yelled out, deflecting green blasts as he ran. He saw forked tanks shooting fields of electricity out as some of his men ran up on walkers to deal with them. I can't even see the enemy. Tup yelled out as he fired. That's why they're called the Shadow People, Tup. Everybody, take cover. Boom. A ship flew by and dropped a bomb, causing it to explode in green fire. Go, go, go. They continued running before one clone saw a large vine on the ground. Look, it's just a vine. Keep moving, Hardcase. Yeah, I got it all under control, Hardcase said, pulling up his minigun. The vine wrapped around the clone and pulled him in the air and over to the right, revealing a mouth in the ground before another came out of its mouth to pull one clone in. That's not right. 5s threw a grenade over the mouth, having them explode inside, killing the plant. Boom. Nice work, 5s. Hardcase, right? 5 asked, fixing his helmet. Yeah, that's what they call me. Naruto's battalion. Alpha, you take the left. Fordo, the right. Keep grenades for the carnivorous plants. Naruto, leaning against a large plant, ordered his men. What about you, General? Me. Naruto asked before crouching and putting mud over his face. I got above. BD looked over his shoulder and beeps at that. Oh, come on, trust me. Naruto climbed the plant as his men ran on the sides shooting at people in spacesuits and helmets. Running on the leaves to have them connect to the other and jump on it. Landing in the middle, he saw a group of men before quickly shooting them and ran to another plant. Anakin's battalion. All platoons have reported in, General. One clone holding his helmet ran up to Anakin and Rex in a ditch. Get some rest. Anakin smiled as he picked up binoculars. Thank you, sir. I'm fine. The general's giving you an order, Dogma, Rex told the clone as he turned to face him. Of course, sir. Dogma then turned to run off at that before Rex looked at Anakin. He's wound tight, but he's loyal. He kind of reminds me of you. Maybe, back in the day, Rex said before they heard a yell. What is that? Look out. Ambush. They're behind us. They looked to see insects running around shocking the clones before they were fired at. The enemies circled behind us, Fives said, putting on his helmet as Rex followed and ran with him and Anakin. Everybody, we must defend our backs. Naruto. Naruto dropped on two men, impaling them with his blades as Alpha shot one that came up behind him. Naruto stood back up and turned his blades off as Fordo walked over. Generals Kenobi and Skywalkers landed and are fighting, sir. Tisk. Missed all the hard work as usual. Naruto said, hooking the blades on his belt. General Kenobi's battalion is pushing towards the capital. Naruto nodded at that. Okay, we'll need to move out as soon as the men are ready. Anakin's battalion. General Krell's here. Dogma asked Fives, who looked over. Something big must be going on. Krell's a basilisk, with tan skin and had 4 arms, the bottom 2 having armor. He's wearing the standard Jedi robes, and 2 double-bladed lightsabers hooked on each waist. Master Krell, my thanks for the air support. Anakin nodded to the alien. Indeed, General Skywalker. The locals have proven to be more resourceful than we anticipated. But that's not the reason for your visit. Anakin asked, having Krell shake his head. No, the council has ordered you back to Coruscant, effective immediately. What? Anakin asked in surprise. Why? I'm afraid a request was made by the Supreme Chancellor, and the council obliged. That is all they would tell me. Krell answered, hands behind his back. Well, I can't just leave my men. I'll be taking over in the interim. Don't worry about a thing, sir, Rex said to Anakin. We'll have this city under Republic control by the time you're back. Master Krell, this is Rex, my first in command. You won't find a finer and more loyal trooper anywhere. Krell nodded at that. Good to hear that. I wish you well, Skywalker. Krell said, putting a hand on Anakin's shoulder before he left via gunship. Your reputation precedes you, General. It is an honor to be serving you. Rex said, walking to stand beside Krell. I find it very interesting, Captain, that you are able to recognize the value of honor, for a clone. Rex looked surprised at that before Krell spoke again as he looked forward to the group. Stand at attention when I address you. Rex stood straight at that before Krell continued. Your flattery is duly noted, but it will not be rewarded. There's a reason my command is so effective, and it's because I do things by the book, and that includes protocol. Have all platoons ready to move out immediately. That is all. Naruto. Shit. Naruto cursed as he and his clones walked through the forest to a clearing. Bout damn time. Fordo, call in a ship to get us. Roger, sir. The rest of ya, rest up. Sir, yes sir. Krell and the clones. Krell had changed the battle plan and settled on a full frontal assault on the capital's main road instead. The battalion begins to run into enemy traps, with mines and an all-out ambush that kills many of the troopers. Rex orders his troopers to retreat in order to attain a more advantageous fighting position. Though frustrated by the clones' retreat, Krell ordered additional troopers and ATRT drivers to save Rex and his men. After they manage to repel the natives, Krell immediately begins to criticize Rex for retreating and compromising his plans. Rex and Fives stand up to him, voicing their protests and pointing out that, while they are aware of the importance of their mission, they are also concerned about the welfare of their men. Suddenly, the Umbarans launch a counterattack on them. Turning the tide. As separatist control over vital but isolated supply routes expands, Republic forces invade a key planet, the darkened world of Umbara. In the midst of helping Obi-Wan Kenobi's battalion conquer the Umbaran capital, Anakin Skywalker is called away to Coruscant. His battalion is temporarily placed under the command of Jedi General Pong Krell, a shrewd and temperamental leader. Krell's reckless strategy forced Captain Rex to retreat with his platoons in a disastrous defeat. Umbara. We have got to move before those fighters come back. Rex yelled, holding his pistols up as he shot at a small ship. Rex, over here. Rex turned to see a group of clones running before he and his group started running as well. Jesse, take the right flank. Dogma, take the left flank. They continued shooting before Krell pulled a hologram of Obi-Wan. The capital city's too fortified. We need your battalion to help us take it. Resistance from the Umbarans has been greater than anticipated. We're holding our ground at the moment. Krell replied before Obi-Wan pointed to his right. We've gathered intel on an airbase to the west. It is resupplying the capital's defenses. Incoming. Get down. Boom. A grenade went off by them before Obi-Wan continued. If you could capture that airbase, it would sever the capital's supply lines, allowing the rest of our forces to move in. I'll see to it that the airbase is placed under our control, Krell replied, looking down at the hologram. Remember, General Krell, the entire invasion depends on your battalion. Captain Rex, have those coordinates mapped and all troops ready to move out immediately. Yes, General. Naruto's battalion. A group of Umbarans came to a clearing surrounded by plants holding rifles before one in the back was grabbed by a clone who used mud to blend in with one plant. Another grabbed the other man in the back from a bush and pulled him in. Several more clones dropped upside down from the plants, showing they had wires on their backs, and pulled 3 more men up in the leaves. Naruto then dropped down on the last man, hitting him with his shoto before turning the red blade off. How far is that ship? Several clicks out, sir. Hopefully there won't be too many coming here then. General Kenobi is having a hard time, sir. The enemy's putting up a hell of a fight. Obi-Wan will be fine. Burner, it's Anakin I'm more worried about. Naruto said as BD dropped down to shake the mud off him. General Skywalker got called off, sir. Burner explained, having Naruto turn to him. What? Yes, shortly after arriving, the council pulled him out. As General Krell took his place. Oh, not that bastard. Naruto sighed as BD got on his back. 501st Legion. A full forward assault would leave us too exposed. We have to look at other options. Fives without his helmet spoke up before Rex pulled him aside from the others as they were resting. Fives, it would help if you eased their minds, he said once they got out of earshot. What, you mean coax them into following another one of Krell's suicide missions? We lost a lot of men last time, Fives said, remembering the last battle. Krell may do things differently, but he is effective in getting them done. He's a recognized war hero. He may have had some victories, but have you seen his casualty numbers? More troopers have been killed under his command than anyone else. That's the price of war, Fives. We're soldiers. We have a duty to follow orders and, if we must, lay down our lives for victory. Rex explained, having Fives scoff. General Uzumaki still has clones from his first group. He cares about us, even those not in his legion. He helped get 99 out when Kamino was attacked. He said before Rex turned to leave and grabbed his shoulder. So do you still believe that, or is that what you were engineered to think? I honor my code. That's what I believe, Rex replied, walking away. Later, the group crawled to the top of a hill before Rex looked through binoculars. Is everyone clear on the plan? Hard case. Yes, sir. Fives, are you clear? Yeah. All right, get in your group. Let's move out. Rex stood up and jogged down the hill with the others. Everybody stay alert. Fingers on the trigger. Fives spoke up before one clone saw a group of flying animals flying back where they came. They looked spooked. Suddenly, the ground shook, having them stop. What the? A large mechanical caterpillar came out of the ground and roared. Oh, Scrag. Blast it. Look out. Its head is ray shielded. The group started shooting at the caterpillar with their rocket launchers, hitting the sides. Naruto's battalion. Look out. Naruto deflected a blast as he saw a large spider tank coming towards him. Need an RPG draft. On it, sir. A clone ran up and pulled a rocket launcher up before being joined by 2 more. Aim at the glass. The 3 clones aimed at the glass in front, having each missile hit it and cracked it. Naruto ran forward and hit it with his Shoto before jumping in, destroying the controls, and took the man out. Everyone all right? Yes, sir. Okay, not going to open my mouth this time, Naruto said, jumping out and having BD scan the tank. Trills. 501st Legion. As the troops continue to advance, they encounter spider cannons, whose heavy firepower forces them into retreat yet again. Krell refuses to accept Rex's retreat or send him reinforcements, stubbornly insisting that he and his men are not to give any ground to the enemy. The battalion sustains heavy casualties, and the mobile cannons prove impervious to their rocket launchers. We're finished. We've still got some fight left in us, Tup, and I've got an idea, Rex said looking at a cannon via binoculars. What were you thinking? Fives asked Rex, having him glance back. Remember what you were saying about finding another way to destroy those tanks? Yeah. Well, I have a mission for you, Rex said looking forward before explaining. Later, Krell called via hologram. CT 7567, where are you? General Krell, we've come up with a plan to infiltrate the airbase. What is your plan? Krell asked as Rex looked to the side. I've dispatched 2 men on a stealth incursion into the airbase. They've been ordered to co-opt starfighters and use them against the tanks. You what? You've put this entire assault on your hope that 2 clones can do what your entire group could not. Krell asked in anger as the clone looked down. Sir, the rocket launchers don't work on these tanks and it'll be easier to slip by undetected while the rest of us keep the tanks occupied. Up ahead, Fives and Hardcase reach the compound, where both men quickly take possession of a pair of Umbaran fighters. After some harrowing maneuvers, the clones manage to get the fighters airborne and make for the battlefield. The commandeered fighters arrive just as Rex and his men are on the brink of defeat. The superior firepower of the Umbaran aircraft makes quick work of the tanks, and the enemy vehicles are subdued in short order, allowing the remaining clones to advance and secure the airbase. Krell eyes the successful stunt with cold acknowledgement and orders Apo and the rest of the battalion to move out. At the base, Rex praises Fives and Hardcase, before being confronted by General Krell. After reporting the success of the mission, Krell proves dismissive of the clones' losses, declaring it the price of victory, before departing, leaving Rex indignant but silent. Invasion in peril. Republic forces struggle to take Umbara, a hostile planet completely enshrouded in darkness. Jedi General Pong Krell and Captain Rex lead a battalion against a constant attack by a brutal enemy. Krell's aggressive and reckless strategies backfire, killing many clones. Despite the Jedi General's dangerous tactics, Captain Rex's squad successfully captures a critical airbase. This further fuels the mistrust of Krell's leadership, dividing his men. 501st Legion. The insurgents have stepped up their attacks, sir. One clone said to Krell as they walked through the airfield, arresting several men. They want their base back. We cannot let our guard down for a moment. Have all Umbaran security reconfigured and locked down. Interrogate the prisoners if you have to, but I want this base under our complete control and I don't want excuses. Krell explained before Rex walked up to the Jedi. Sir, there's a transmission from General Kenobi. I'll take it to the tower. Going into the tower, they brought up a hologram of Obi-Wan that was just white blocks in his shape. General Kenobi, do you read me? Congratulations on your capture of the Umbaran airbase, General. It's refreshing to have good news. There will be time for celebration when we've taken that capital, Krell replied, crossing his arms. Yes. Well, I'm afraid that's going to be more difficult than anticipated. Their attacks have increased and their long-range missiles are forcing us to retreat from our positions. I was hoping we cut off their arms shipments and supplies when we took this airbase. It seems they're receiving new arms shipments directly from a supply ship orbiting. Obi-Wan became static for a second before Krell spoke up. General Kenobi. We've been having difficulty transmitting, he said with spotty wording. They must be jamming our signals, Obi-Wan explained before Rex took a step forward. Can't we destroy the supply ship? We're trying, but with little success. Their fleet outnumbers ours and the extra ships we were promised have not yet arrived. We'll just have to take that capital regardless of the missiles. My battalion will meet you at the rendezvous coordinates. Krell explained, clenching his fist. We cannot expect. The signal went out as the clone at the console looked at multiple screens. I'm trying to get him back, sir. Don't bother. The enemy is jamming our transmissions. We are on our own. Outside, Fives was working on one of the ships before another clone walked up to him. Hey, how's it coming? Tricky piece of hardware. Krell's got Jesse stacking ordnance. Fives continued working before speaking. I'm still waiting for Krell to thank us for handing this base over to him. Krell then walked out with Rex and pointed at containers. Have those containers searched and all weapons prepped and loaded. Have the battalion ready to move out in 12 hours. We're advancing on the capital. Sir, shall I try to get a message to General Kenobi? Shouldn't we coordinate our attack, especially in light of the recent threat? Rex asked as they continued walking the base. General Kenobi has his hands full, same as us. We need to throw everything we have at them, now. We'd be marching into a blast zone, sir, Rex said before stopping at a nearby explosion. Boom. Blasted insurgents. I realize you haven't agreed with all my strategies, Captain. But you are smart enough and loyal enough to obey my orders. Now, prepare those troops. Krell ordered the clone before leaving. Rex then went to the other clones and saw Fives talking to the other clones after working on the ship before explaining the plan and having Fives speak. Those missiles have 100 megaton yield. We won't even make it to the Delta. What can I do? I've tried to reason with him. Those are the orders. Great. Another suicide mission. The capital is too well armed. One clone said, having Rex look over before another spoke. Why does it seem like he has it out for clones? I think you're all overreacting. One who was sitting down, side of his head shaved. Obviously, General Krell knows what he's doing. Do you really think he doesn't care if he loses men? I'm not saying that, but I do think his desire for victory has blinded him to the fact that there are lives at stake. I've never seen a general with these kinds of casualties. The first clone spoke before Fives stood up and looked at the group. He's out of control. He's not acting like the other Jedi. He has no respect for us. Listen, I don't agree with him either, but I don't have a better plan. Rex calmly spoke, walking over. So, follow orders? Fives asked, looking at Rex. General Uzumaki told me something at Kamino before I graduated. Those that break the rules or don't follow orders are scum, that's true. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Naruto's battalion. Naruto sneezed as he and his men took supplies from the men they just fought. You all right, sir? Yeah, I think someone's talking about me though, Naruto replied as he started to help. I'm guessing the ships hold up. Yes sir, Alpha replied as he put grenades in his pack. One of those tanks spotted them. Of course, Naruto said before bringing up his saber to block a shot. Look out. Naruto blocked another shot and brought up his shoto to deflect another. Move. The group then started firing at the enemy before running. 501st Legion. After leaving the barracks, Fives confronts Rex, challenging him for standing for Krell's plan. Rex attempts to convince Fives that they are honor-bound to follow their orders and consider themselves as part of the greater picture, without questioning. Growing frustrated at that, Fives insists that he cannot follow orders that he knows are wrong and allow others to suffer as a result, expressing the sentiment that he cares more for the lives of his friends than doing what is right. Fives breaks off the conversation, stating that he intends to find accomplices for his plan, leaving Rex increasingly disturbed and torn. In the hangar, Fives and Hardcase attempt a sneak crash course with one of the Mbaran fighters. However, the fighter proved too hard to control for Hardcase, causing damage and disruption to the facility. Finally, one of their fellow troopers and a missile accidentally fired by Hardcase give the game away. Fives and Hardcase just barely manage to explain the mayhem away with a booby trap left in the fighter's programming, but this only serves to reinforce Krell's argument that the fighter infiltration mission will lead to disaster, and he officially discards the plan, and leaves. Nice work. Fives sarcastically said to Hardcase. Now we know how to fly them, and we won't be able to get near them. Oh, come on. That won't stop us. It's just a procedure. We can sneak in and be out before Krell knows anything. Hardcase spoke before hearing clapping as Jesse walked up. I thought the plan was to destroy the enemy ship with the fighters, not blow up our own hangar. He said before stopping by them as Fives sighed. Look, I agree we should go through with this. So, are you two volunteering to be my pilots, or what? I'm in regardless of the consequences, Hardcase said with a grin as Jesse crossed his arms and sighed. Flying these fighters beats blindly walking into a bunch of missiles, so, I'm in. We just need a plan. Already got one. General Skywalker blew up a droid control ship when he was just a kid, Fives explained, picking up a console. And he told me the trick was hitting the main reactor from the inside. Oh, well, that won't be so tough. Hardcase smiles at that before looking up at Jesse. Later, the three with their helmets on ran up to Rex who was outside ordering men. Fives, what are you doing out here? You should be in the barracks. I found my pilots. We're going after that supply ship. Fives explained to Rex who took off his helmet. Are you out of your mind? It's a suicide mission, not to mention against orders. It's the right thing to do. We have to try. Rex just sighed at that before speaking. It sounds like you intend to go through with it. If you're going to try to stop us, we need to know, Fives said as Rex closed his eyes for a moment. I can't help you when you get caught. Fives nodded at that. I understand, sir. The three then walk away having Rex put his helmet back on. Naruto's battalion. Naruto hit a man before looking back at his group. Everyone okay? Yes sir. Same here. I could use a drink. There's always one. Naruto sighed before looking at Fordo. How are we on supplies? Good, sir. With what we took from the enemy we haven't used much. Naruto nodded before seeing three ships fly up from an airfield and into the sky. What the hell? Why are they going up? Republic Air Forces made their way here sir, Fordo replied, walking up. They could be reinforcements for a battle. Alright. Naruto clapped his hands at that. Finish up and let's move back to the clearing. Sir, yes sir. Fives, Hardcase, and Jesse. The rogue troopers commandeer three of the Umbaran fighters and take off towards the supply fleet. They then made it to the atmosphere and found the supply fleet under heavy attack from Republic Space Forces. They managed to sneak their way into the supply ship's main hangar, but a battle droid eventually discovers the pilot's true nature and raises the alarm. The reactor is put on ray shields immediately, foiling the clones, attempt to blast them and leaving them to face an approaching droid interception force. Hardcase spontaneously detaches a missile pod from his fighter and, exiting his vessel, guides it by hand into the reactor system, sacrificing himself to ensure the mission's success. Fives and Jesse then make it back to the airbase and are met by Rex and Tup. Where's Hardcase? He didn't make it, Fives explained, walking out of the ship with Fives and taking off their helmet. We couldn't have done it without him. After a solemn moment of silence, three clones walked up to them. General Krell would like to see them in the tower. The group walks into the tower and up to the Jedi. You want to see them, sir? Rex asked as Krell had his back to them. Indeed. It seems they have accomplished a very brave act. Unfortunately, they've also committed a serious crime by directly disobeying my order. With all due respect, sir, the order to attack the cargo vessel was mine, Rex said, taking a step forward at that. If there's a punishment to be given, it should be directed toward me. I'm their commanding officer. General, sir, Captain Rex is attempting to take the blame for actions that were clearly mine, Fives spoke up at that. Fives. I request that his admission of guilt be denied and full blame placed upon me. Oh, do you? Krell asked, turning to them. You willfully countermand my direct order, and now you have the audacity to request who should bear the punishment of your insurrection. Let me be clear about the punishment for the treason committed by ARC Trooper 5555 and CT 5597. They will be court-martialed, and they will be found guilty. And they will be executed. Make no mistake, for crossing me, you will pay the price. While fighting to control the darkened world of Umbara, Anakin Skywalker's battalion is temporarily placed under the command of Jedi General Pong Krell. As Krell's disastrous strategies result in increasing casualties, his men begin to turn against him. Captain Rex struggles to balance loyalty between his commander and his fellow men. Under his watch, Fives and Jesse disobey Krell's orders, resulting in their court-martial. Airfield. Rex holding his helmet walked up to Krell before speaking. General Krell, I respectfully request you reconsider court-martial Fives and Jesse. The actions of ARC Trooper 5555 and CT 5597 were a clear act of treachery and disregard for my command. If punishment isn't swift, their defiance may inspire others to follow suit. Sir, the men are with you. It's just that some of them feel you're putting their lives in danger needlessly. Rex argued with the Jedi. All the more reason to send a clear message that I am in charge and insubordination will not be tolerated. The truth is, these clones have had a difficult time respecting my commands since the beginning. I've seen it before. Some clones are just defective. They aren't able to succumb to authority. You're right, Captain. I don't think I can court-martial them. It will only be a waste of time, and that's something we don't have. I'm afraid they'll need to be disposed of. Prepare a squad for execution. Krell explained, walking to the hologram, shocking Rex. What? But, sir. You heard me, Captain. Have it done immediately, or I'll do it myself. Rex sighed before he and the 4 clones went to the cells and to the one that held Fives and Jesse. Fives, Jesse, I'm sorry. General Krell has ordered your execution immediately. What? But how? He can't do this. Jesse yelled out as Rex looked down. He has authority to render punishment during combat. I can understand a court-martial and locking us up in the brig, but executing us. I tried to convince him that it's my fault, but he wouldn't let me, Rex explained before Fives walked up. Rex, you have to face it, he's been using you. He needs your loyalty to control the others. Rex then opened the cells up as a clone walked in. I won't let him get away with this. Don't beat yourself up about it, Fives spoke as he and Jesse walked out. We made our choice. We knew what the price was. Speak for yourself. Still got your sense of humor, I see, Fives said with a chuckle. Yeah, who said I was joking? Well, I guess this is it. They walked outside where they saw a firing squad led by Dogma. Line up the prisoners. The 2 were placed on the wall at that. Well, I've officially lost my sense of humor. Jesse spoke to Fives as he saw Krell watching from the tower. Will the prisoners request to be blindfolded? Dogma asked the 2 who stayed quiet. I'll take that as a no. I hope you can live with yourself, Dogma, Fives said as Dogma moved to the side. Ready weapons. Aim. Wait, Fives yelled out looking at the squad. This is wrong and we all know it. The general is making a mistake, and he needs to be called on it. No clone should have to go out this way. We're loyal soldiers. We follow orders, but we are not a bunch of unthinking droids. We are men. We must be trusted to make the right decisions. Especially when the orders we are given are wrong. Fire. Dogma yelled as the squad shot the wall instead. What happened? They're doing the right thing, Dogma, Rex explained as the men dropped their weapons. Because if this is how soldiers are rewarded for heroic actions, then one day, every man in this battalion may face a similar fate. Take off their binders. No, we have orders. We have to go through with this. Dogma yelled out as the men released the 2 clones. Good luck finding anyone to do it. After the failed execution, General Krell orders Rex and Dogma to the tower, addressing the former as making a big mistake by crossing him. Before Rex and Krell can come to blows over the matter, the tower receives a transmission from a clone scout, informing them that the Umbarans are preparing another offensive, possibly with the aid of clone armor and weapons captured from a platoon. Krell decides on a preemptive strike. The troops move out but are ambushed by what they believe to be the enemy in disguise. Naruto. How far are we? Naruto asked in a gunship that flew above the plantation. Shouldn't be too far now, sir. As they traveled, they saw shots being fired by 2 sides before Naruto narrowed his eyes. Bringing up a pair of binoculars, he saw 2 squads of clones firing on each other, one in blue, the other yellow. What the hell? Get over there. The gunship flew over before Naruto dropped down between the 2 squads and threw his arms out. The shots froze beside him before speaking. This is General Naruto Uzumaki. All clones stand down. The clones stopped firing, having Naruto throw his hands up, having the shots follow by going up in the air. Now, why the hell are you all fighting? Sir. Rex walked up to him taking off his helmet. General Krell told us to come here and that the enemy would most likely be wearing stolen armor. Sir. Naruto turned to see Fordo walking toward him. We found the leader of the other squad, Waxer. Bones is treating him now. Naruto nodded and walked to Bones to see him fixing a clone. He going to be alright. Took a couple of shots but he'll live. Waxer, Naruto said, crouching down to the clone. Tell me who gave you the orders to attack. It was General Krell. Cough. He sent us to these coordinates to stop the enemy. We thought they were wearing our armor, cough. But it was clones. Naruto finished clasping his hands. Rest up, Alpha. Yes sir. You're in charge here. Rex, get a group and take me to Krell. Naruto walked with clones from the 501st Legion to the tower. Rex got Fives and Jesse out of the cells before Naruto came up to the tower with the other clones. General Krell, you are being relieved of duty, surrender now. General Uzumaki, explain your actions. For ordering your troops against one another, Naruto explained, putting his hands on his belt by his waist. But I'm sure I can find more. Oh, that. Krell chuckled before turning to face them. I'm surprised you figured it out. I hate to repeat myself, surrender, and give me your sabers. Naruto spoke, pulling his hands off his belt as the clones raised their rifles at Krell. Krell threw his hands out throwing all but Naruto, who also threw his hands up back with the force. You dare to attack a Jedi. You no longer have that right. Naruto yelled, pulling his saber up and turning it on. By the order of the Jedi and Council, I hereby strip you of your rank. Krell pulled his dual sabers out before being thrown into the glass by Naruto. Naruto ran over having Krell break the glass and jump out. Damn it. Naruto cursed before seeing a wire going to the ground. BD. BD jumped off and jumped up to the wire and wrapped his feet around it. Naruto grabbed the droid and ziplined down. Once getting to the ground, Naruto landed in a roll and let BD jump back on before dashing after Krell in the plants. After running for several minutes, he came to a stop and looked around. And turned, bringing his saber up to block Krell's. Naruto pushed him back before they clashed several times before circling each other. They dashed to clash again before Naruto jumped back and tossed his Shoto that was deflected. Naruto then pulled it back as Krell dashed over, and jumped over him before Naruto raised his blade and sliced Krell's arms off. Didn't need any high ground for that. Later, Naruto stood at the cells that now housed Krell who had bandages on his stumps. Why, Krell, why kill your own men? Because I can. Because they fell for it. Because they're inferior. But you're a Jedi. How could you? Rex asked as he took a step forward. A Jedi. Ha ha ha. I'm no longer naive enough to be a Jedi. A new power is rising, I've foreseen it. The Jedi are going to lose this war, and the Republic will be ripped apart from the inside. In its place is going to rise a new order, and I will rule as part of it. Krell replied as he stood. You're a separatist. I serve no one's side, only my own. And soon, my new master. Krell explained as Naruto crossed his arms. You're an agent of Dooku. Not yet, but when I get out of here, I will be. After I've succeeded in driving the Republic from Umbara, the Count will reward my actions and make me his new apprentice. How could you do this? Naruto turned to see Dogma yelling from his cell after he tried to stop the clones before surrendering. You had my trust, my loyalty. I followed all of your orders, and you made me kill my brothers. Ha ha ha. That's because you were the biggest fool of them all, Dogma. I counted on blind loyalty like yours to make my plan succeed. That will never happen. You're a traitor, Krell. Naruto said before motioning to Rex. And you'll be dealt with as one. You never learn, the Umbarans are going to retake this base. And when they do, I will be free. Krell grinned before a clone ran in. General, we've repaired the transmitter. It looks like it was sabotaged. We received a message from General Kenobi. His forces have captured the capital, but the remaining Umbarans are heading here. Get everyone on the perimeter. We need to prepare for a full-scale attack. Naruto ordered looking over his shoulder. Yes, sir. Naruto walked out with the clones before bringing up his comms. Alpha, Fordo, and Krell sabotaged the transmitter. He's been against us from the beginning. Attack any and all Umbarans. If the Umbarans get to him, he'll turn over all our intel. 5 spoke up as he was now back in his armor. The defense codes, everything. He'll strike a crippling blow to the Republic. Something has to be done, Jesse spoke up as he walked up. Then we can't risk the possibility that he might escape. Naruto sighed before walking back inside. As long as Krell's alive, he's a threat to every one of us. I agree. They walked in as Naruto opened the cell. Turn around and step toward the wall. On your knees. Krell did so before speaking. I can sense your fear. What are you waiting for? The Umbarans are getting closer. He was shot in the head, having Naruto turned to see that Dogma, who was let out as well, took 5's pistol and shot Krell. I had to. He betrayed us. I didn't see a thing, Naruto said before looking down at Krell. When the fights are over, dump him in the plants, he doesn't deserve a Jedi funeral. He said as BD dropped down and kicked Krell before stumbling back as he lost balance for a second. They all went outside before 5's walked up to Naruto. General Kenobi's battalions have routed the last holdouts of Umbarans, and we've secured all sectors. We did it. We took Umbara. What's the point of all this? Naruto turned to see Rex sighing. I mean, why? War is ugly, Naruto said, looking at the injured clones. But sometimes, it isn't when you're fighting for your fellow soldiers or helping out a village. Or just a single child. He pointed at Numa's picture on his arm before smiling. Someday this war is gonna end. Then what? We're soldiers. What happens to us then? Settle down, train military, or join another. While this war will be over, battles won't be. Coruscant, Jed Temple. A hologram of Naruto stood before the Jedi. I think you really need to look at any battalion with a high death rate. Why is that? Mace asked while seated. Because we should weed out those that are like Krell. This order hasn't been in this kind of fight in a long time. How many Jedi out there are disillusioned or getting there because we're straying from what the Jedi stands for? Krell, Prosit. Hell, that might be the reason why people join the Separatists. They see them as a better choice because in their mind, at least the Separatists don't use people as cannon fodder but just machines. Look into it, we will, Yoda said from his seat. Right you are, have Jedi sullying the name we cannot. Naruto nodded before disappearing. A yellow-skinned Togruta was in an office talking to a hologram of Yoda. The simple truth is there is not a warrior among us, Master Yoda. An armed conflict will destroy us. We will negotiate with Count Dooku if we are able. Trust Dooku, you cannot. Send help, I will. I'm afraid it is too late. The Separatists have already arrived. The Togruta said as ships flew over the town. He went outside where he saw Dooku walking with a male anthropomorphic cat in blue clothing. Count Dooku, we have chosen to remain neutral in this war. Why have you launched this invasion against us? Think of our presence as a peaceful occupation for your protection as well as ours, Dooku explained as he put his hands behind his back. I have heard the tragic stories of worlds caught between your droids and their clones. What of my people? While I am helpless to prevent the fighting, I can offer your people sanctuary. A haven until the conflict has ended. Thank you, Count, yours is a kind offer, but, the Togruta trailed off before Dooku put his hand on his shoulder and walked off with the leader. I insist. Round up the citizens. All of them. The male with Dooku said to the droids who nodded and started taking the people away. Roger Roger. Unhand me. Watch it. Hey, let me go. Hey, watch it. I said let me go. Later, atmosphere. The Resolute flew into the atmosphere as inside, Obi-Wan and Anakin were at the window. No Barriss? Anakin asked, having Obi-Wan look over. No, she had some personal matters to tend to, Obi-Wan replied before hearing a clone. All clear, sir. There are no separatist craft in the system. They turned and walked to the hollow table where Rex was standing. It's been 10 rotations since Master Yoda's transmission. I just hope we're not too late. Anakin said before turning to walk towards Rex with Obi-Wan. Rex, take us down. Yes, sir. Later, Kyros. On the outskirts of the village, the Jedi group landed with tanks as Anakin, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Rex were in speeders with sidecar turrets. They glanced at each other as other clones came out of the gunships on walkers. As they rode to the town, Ahsoka noticed the empty houses before glancing over at Anakin. Anybody else thinks it's too quiet? I haven't seen any colonists. They're probably hiding, Anakin replied as Obi-Wan pulled up. Let's hope they stay hidden. It makes our job easier if we don't have to worry about them in battle. I don't like it, Rex said, looking around from his seat. The Clankers have never been shy about using civvies as living shields. I'm sure they're here somewhere. Let's make for the city center, Anakin said before speeding down the dirt street. Getting further into the city, they saw droids on speeders. Biker droids, dead ahead. Ahsoka yelled out holding onto her turret. Squad, tighten up. Form on me, Anakin ordered as the droids rode towards them. They then fired at the droids, with the Jedi using their sabers, hitting them, or the bikes having them crash. We're all clear, Master. Getting to the center, they attacked B-1 droids as well as firing at tanks via missile launcher. Ahsoka then jumped up on one and dropped several grenades in the hatch. Boom. It exploded as she jumped over onto Anakin's speeder as Obi-Wan and the others stopped by them before looking at Rex. Captain, have your men secure the area. Rex nodded as he and the other troopers started looking around. Later, Obi-Wan walked up to Boyle who was on a walker. How are we doing, Boyle? We're still mopping up clankers here and there, sir. We've established a perimeter around the governor's tower. No one gets out without a fight. Obi-Wan nodded at that. Good work. He turned and saw Cody before walking over to the clone. Cody, any word from the Separatist commander? He's barricaded inside. His name is Darts Dinar. He sent you a message, sir. Cody then brought up a holoprojector and had Darts come up. Master Kenobi, come to the tower. We will negotiate terms for surrender. Well, that was easy, Obi-Wan said before the projector was pulled to an angry Anakin who crashed it and threw it away. Zygerian scum, I'll handle that slaver. Anakin, he asked for me. I need you to locate the missing Togruta colonists. Obi-Wan ordered the knight. Fine, I'll have Admiral Yularen initiate a planetary bioscan. Anakin turned at that and walked away as Ahsoka walked over to Obi-Wan. Why is he so upset? Anakin has never talked about his past, has he? Obi-Wan asked the Togruta Padawan. Only to tell me he won't talk about it. As a child, Anakin and his mother were sold into slavery by the Hutt clans. Oh, and these Zygerians, they're slavers? She asked as Obi-Wan put his hands behind his back. Anakin has struggled to put his past behind him. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. Yes, make sure you do, Obi-Wan said as they looked to see Anakin talking to Wolf via hologram. In the tower, Darts was talking to Dooku and Atai via hologram while petting a bird. The last shipment has been received, Dinar, Dooku said before Atai walked forward. I understand the Jedi have attacked. Why are you still there? I'm going to make the Jedi pay for their arrogance. I have them right where I want them. Darts replied as Obi-Wan came out of the elevator. Do tell, he said as commando droids pointed their weapons at them before Dooku spoke. Gentlemen, meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Knight. Dinar, bring him to me on his knees. With pleasure. Darts turned the hologram off as Obi-Wan walked over, hands raised. We were going to discuss surrender. Yes, you will surrender. Darts explained having the Jedi raise an eyebrow. We have a misunderstanding, my friend. Obi-Wan put his hands behind his back and turned on his communicator. No, you are wrong, Jedi. Am I? You are no doubt aware your droid forces have been destroyed, and you are surrounded. Do the honorable thing and give up now, Dinar. I promise you will receive fair treatment. You've broken through my defenses. You think you've won. Think again. I have planted bombs all over the city. No one will survive. Now, surrender. Darts explained putting his feet up on the desk he was sitting at. If you're not bluffing, then I must concede. But you'll have to make considerations. First, you release the colonists. Here is my counter-offer, Darts said before the tactical droid by them hit a button. Boom. And had a building explode by them, having Obi-Wan run to a window to look outside. There were no colonists in that structure, but there could have been. Now, bow down and surrender to me, you Jedi filth. Outside, the clones ran around getting the ones caught in the blast. I need a medic over here. R2, where are you? Anakin asked before hearing R2 who rolled up. Watch yourself, buddy. This is still a war zone. Cody, we don't have time for the planetary scan. Hook R2 up, and he'll locate the bombs. Right away, sir. Ahsoka, let's go, Anakin ordered, getting on a walker with Ahsoka. Where are we going? To disarm the bombs while Obi-Wan negotiates. I hope he can buy us some time. Inside, Obi-Wan put his lightsaber on the desk. Very well, I surrender. Long before this war, you Jedi destroyed the great Zygerian slave empire. I would kill you now, but Dooku would prefer you alive. I understand your frustration, Obi-Wan said as Darth stood up and petted the bird in his arms. It is unfortunate you and I cannot resolve our differences as you do in the Zygerian tradition. That got Darth's attention as the bird flew away from him onto a table. With no weapons, you would fight me. For good reason. Say, if I win, you reveal the location of the colonists and the bombs. And if I win, I will deliver you to Dooku in a cage like one of these filthy creatures. Perhaps. Obi-Wan was then headbutted back onto the floor before looking up. He was then picked up over Darth's head, slammed onto his back, and then thrown into a statue having animals in cages screech. Careful, you're disturbing my pets. They fetch a high price. Outside, Cody directed the Jedi towards a bomb via comms. General Skywalker, your droid is transmitting the bomb coordinates now. Copy that, Cody. We're approaching the first bomb now. Anakin replied, looking at the map that came up on the screen. Let's go. They then came up to a building and attacked the droids guarding it before seeing a circular bomb by the door. Ahsoka opened a panel to reveal wires before working on them. There must be a wire we should cut or something to stop the countdown. Stand back. Anakin then sliced through the control and wires with his saber and disarmed the bomb. Ah, how did you know that would work? I trusted my instincts, Anakin replied, holstering his saber and turning to walk away. You mean you guessed? Yeah, but it was an educated guess. Now, come on, there's plenty more to go. Later. The Jedi attacked the last group of droids before seeing the last two bombs in front of them. These are the last of them. Defuse the bombs. I'll cover you. Ahsoka ran over and pulled one control panel only for both bombs to start blinking. Master, I think the bombs are linked. You're supposed to disarm them, not activate them. He yelled before several super droids fired at them. Droids on the roof. If they're connected, we'll have to defuse them at the same time. Snipers. Ahsoka yelled as two sniper droids appeared on the roof and fired at them. The two hid behind rocks before Anakin spoke up. Ahsoka, they're weak from the side. I've got an angle on your droid. Okay. I've got a view of yours too. Same time. Ready? She asked, having him nod. Go. They both ran and deflected blasts to the droids closest to them and destroyed them. They ran and sliced the bombs at the same time, shutting them down. That was a close one. Let's hope Obi-Wan shares our luck, Anakin said, turning his saber off. Obi-Wan versus darts. Obi-Wan punched darts after he pushed cages out of the way to get to him. For thousands of years, Zygeria supplied slave labor to the galaxy. We prospered. Our customers prospered. Then the Jedi came. Darts spoke as he punched Obi-Wan in the stomach before he started choking him before a hologram of AB-1 came up. Excuse me, sir. We have a problem. What problem? Our spotters are tracking two enemy walkers moving through. Obi-Wan then slammed darts, head on the projector, stopping the transmission before punching him. He was then thrown off onto the floor. Now I'll take revenge for my people, Jedi. Sir, you have an urgent transmission. Sorry to interrupt, sir, but you weren't responding. The B-1 droid said in the hologram. What is it? Ah, the Jedi have disarmed your bombs. What? Give me the detonator. Darts yelled, running to the tactical droid and tried to activate the bombs. Certainly took him long enough this time. Obi-Wan destroyed the commando droids and pulled his saber over. Well, shall we discuss your surrender? Again. I still have one bomb left, Jedi. Darts went to the tactical droid and turned him to reveal a bomb on its back. Sir, how could you? Darts activated it and ran to the elevator as the droid tried to get the bomb off. No, no, get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off. Obi-Wan threw the droid out of the building where he blew up, falling to the ground before calling Anakin. Anakin, Anakin, come in. Dinar is making his escape from the tower. On our way. Obi-Wan ran out to see Darts get on a ship before the others jumped on via the Force before Anakin destroyed an engine. So, what's your plan? Ahsoka asked as they started to fall. I'm open to ideas. They then opened the cargo door and jumped inside before a tentacle alien attacked them. Hold on, Anakin yelled out as his Padawan was grabbed. Hold on, do I have a choice? They got free before Ahsoka jumped up and stabbed it in the head. Master. Ahsoka, you're only making it angry. I'll handle this. Go stabilize the ship. Ahsoka went to the cockpit and started to stabilize the ship before she was attacked by an energy whip. Young Jedi, you'll learn your place. Darts said with a grin before the Padawan glared. I'm not so young anymore. As Anakin ran in, he saw Ahsoka pinning Darts before she spoke. Mission accomplished, Master. Where are the colonists? He asked Darts as he walked up. I will tell you nothing. Where are they? Anakin yelled before grabbing him and slammed him into the wall. Master. Anakin pulled back but kept his weapon ready. My queen is going to bring back the royal slave auction as in the days before the Jedi. Zygeria will be rich and powerful again. The Jedi will not stop us this time. Darts explained as Anakin glared. We'll see about that. Coruscant, Jedi Temple. The council sat with Kit being a hologram and Naruto standing off to the side as he was there for another mission. Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Wolf were speaking about the mission. General Skywalker, I ran the bioscan twice, but the results were negative. Are you saying the colonists are not in the city? I'm saying they're not even on the planet. The entire population appears to have simply vanished. Wolf explained as Ahsoka looked down. Vanished. That's impossible. Those are my people. Troubling as the return of the Zygerians, Yoda spoke as he gripped his cane. It is likely they mean to use Dooku to rebuild their slaver empire. Plo Koon spoke up after stroking his chin. We cannot allow that, Master, Anakin spoke up looking at everyone. Agree I do, but first find the colonists you must. In great danger, they are. Yoda spoke, getting Koon's attention. What is it, Master? Since I do a darker hand in this mystery. Slavery, a great tool it is for the rise of the Sith. Yoda explained, closing his eyes for a moment before opening them. I think you should send me instead of Anakin. Naruto spoke up as BD looked over his shoulder at that. Why? Anakin asked as Naruto walked up. Because of your past, can you say you won't lose it if you go to a slave ring? Worst comes to worst, you won't get the leader Dooku if you lose your head. Right, young Naruto is, Yoda said. Too close you are to this, young Skywalker. Uzumaki will go instead. Kidnapped. During a separatist invasion of the planet Kyros, thousands of peaceful colonists were abducted by Zygerian slavers. Determined to find the missing colonists, the Jedi travel to Zygeria, home to the galaxy's most notorious slave empire. Zygeria atmosphere. It looks like Zygeria is a popular place these days. Naruto said in black and gold armor as he flew the ship with Obi-Wan in the same. Whatever is happening is attracting plenty of high-class scum. Airfield. Let's just hope the information our spies gave us about the Queen is accurate, Naruto said, putting a helmet on. Remember, I'll keep her occupied while you locate the missing people of Kyros, Naruto said as Fordo and Rex walked out. Fordo had short hair and an X tattooed under his right eye. How do you plan on keeping the Queen occupied? Obi-Wan asked Naruto, who smiled. With my magnetic charm, of course. Oh, yes, of course. Worked on your newest Padawan, Naruto muttered before looking to his side to see RC. Hold on to this, will you, buddy? He asked, tossing his sabers down for the droid to catch and store, followed by Obi-Wan. Remind me why I'm the one playing the part of the slave. Naruto turned to see both Ahsoka and Barriss both in cloaks. I was one, didn't suit me. Besides, the role of the master comes easily to me. Really? Ahsoka asked as they walked out. Well, this time try to be convincing at it. Oh, you know you like me. They then walked to a blue city where they saw Zygerians in stalls selling products and various alien species. Ah, how can a civilization this advanced still practice slavery? Barris spoke as Naruto glanced back. It makes them wealthy and powerful at the expense of others. Though there is a cell trying to fight it. As they walked, Ahsoka tried to help someone before Naruto got in front of her. What have we here? You wear Zygerian armor, but you are not one of us. Who are you? The Zygerian asked Naruto, who placed his hands behind his back. I've come for an audience with the queen. Then you have an invitation. We can't just let anyone in to speak with Her Majesty. Naruto shook his head at that. No invitation, but I do bring news the queen will be eager to hear. I doubt that, you're nothing more than a brigand. I wouldn't say that, especially when the queen learns you prevented her from hearing the news about Bruno Denturi, Naruto explained before a security droid flew over. Halt. Cease all hostilities. This man is to be escorted to the palace, by order of the queen. They went to the palace where they saw the queen in royal robes with jewelry on her neck and a crown. Make certain all preparations are complete for this evening, she said to a guard before looking at Naruto. And fetch refreshments. My queen, I present Lars Quell. The guard who brought Naruto in bowed. So, you are the man who claims to be acquainted with Bruno Denturi. Naruto nodded at that and took off his helmet. Yes, your highness. However, when I spoke with him he failed to describe your beauty. Really? And did Bruno speak of my intense hatred of him? Or did that escape his memory as well? The guard aimed a gun at Naruto, who just stared at the queen. He needed not to speak of it, Your Majesty. In fact, Bruno Denturi will not be speaking ever again. What do you mean? Bruno Denturi is dead by my hand. Here are slaves from his palace, compensation for my efforts. Naruto pulled the cloaks off the Padawans, showing Ahsoka was in a blue dress outfit with Barris in black. Unhand me, brigand. You impress me, Lars Quell. The queen spoke as she stood and walked down. The guards kneeling before Naruto motioned for the Padawans to do the same. They're quite the prize. And to have defeated Bruno Denturi in combat, you must be quite the warrior. She said before walking around the two women. They're certainly of fine stock. Bruno always knew how to choose beautiful females. What is your price for them? With respect, how can I price the beauty of these slaves, when I look upon the magnificence of your highness, whose beauty would make the brightest star seem dull by comparison? Naruto replied with a smile. Lars Quell, you flatter me. No, your majesty. However, Naruto trailed off before whispering in her ear, having the other two roll their eyes. Lars, stop it. Stop it. You are a bold one, aren't you? And surely you must be exaggerating. All night and into the next, Mirage said, a blush noticeable on her cheeks. My reputation precedes me then, and I speak the truth, for to lie to such beauty is the gravest of sins, Naruto said with a smile before gently taking her hand and kissing the back of it, causing her to shiver slightly at the sensation, and fan herself a bit. Perhaps we can find a way to put a price on your slave. Come, walk with me. Obi-Wan, Rex, and Fordo. Sir, take a look at this. Rex said as they looked down at a pit. Stand watch, I'll take a closer look, Obi-Wan said before jumping to see a weak-looking Roshti. Governor Roshti. No. Governor, I'm a friend, a Jedi, here to help. Where are your people? There, Roshti trailed off before fainting. Sir, did you find out where the others are? Fordo asked, looking down. Not yet, we've got to get him out of here, Obi-Wan replied as he jumped out with Roshti. He then jumped up to a large lizard, threw the Zygerian off it, and came down. You there, what are you doing with that slave? A guard yelled out as the four got on and ran off. Suddenly, Obi-Wan was shot off with Roshti falling, as the clones got out of the pits. Naruto. Slavery is the natural order of things, the queen said as a female Twi'lek offered them drinks on a balcony. The weak deserve nothing more than to kneel before the strong, bound to our service. I will need men with your talents to spread our ways across the galaxy. The Twi'lek then dropped the tray and pulled out a knife to attack. only for Naruto to grab her hand and take the knife. Let me go. You dare raise a hand against your master. Clearly, you require further processing. No, I won't go back there, the Twi'lek said before running to the edge and jumped off. Wait. Naruto ran over as the queen sat on the railing. He looked over at her and noticed something in her eyes before she spoke. Such a waste. But perhaps she was more trouble than she was worth. But you, Lars, you are proving quite resourceful. Very well, I will pay your price for the slave girls. It seems I require a new servant. Naruto also noticed she wasn't speaking truthfully before speaking. They're my gift to you, your highness. He then sighed as he was still processing what happened. You are a man of many surprises. It pleases me. I wish you to be my guest at the slave auction, and to sit at my side. Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan screamed as he was whipped into a pit. Well, one guard asked, walking in. Who is he? He hasn't talked, but I'll loosen his tongue. The other one spoke up as the second guard nodded. Why would a slaver try to rescue a slave from the palace? It's suicide, he asked, walking over and saw Obi-Wan's face. Wait, I know you from the hologram. I never forget a Jedi. Naruto. In the arena, Naruto watched an announcer walk over to a platform. Your Highness, Zygerians, and guests from 1,000 worlds, our auction begins with slaves of unmatched quality and impossible quantity. I give you Togruta from the Kiros system. A door opened to show Roshti being pushed out. This handsome sample represents a lot of numbers, no less than 50,000 beings. Note the compliance. Virtually untrained in combat. There will be no rebellion from these slaves. Naruto looked to see Rex and Fordo in the other hall by him patting their weapons, having Naruto nod. So where do you keep 50,000 slaves, like the people of Kiros? Naruto asked Mirage before the guard from earlier walked in and up to her. Your Majesty, I have urgent news, he said before whispering. All will be revealed in time, she said as she stood, and Naruto narrowed his eyes before looking at the two Padawans. Before we begin the auction, I would like to welcome our most special guest, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Jedi Knight. Obi-Wan was then pushed out as the people yelled. Down with the Jedi. The Jedi are not so tough. Mirage then raised her arms before speaking. My friends, my good friends, do not fear the Jedi. They are no different from others we have forced into submission, for they have forsaken their ideals to serve a corrupt Senate. Every Jedi has become a slave to the Republic. The Jedi Order is weak, and we will help break it. She then gave Naruto an energy whip. Teach the Jedi his place. Naruto walked down as the people chanted. Whip the Jedi, whip the Jedi, whip the Jedi, whip the Jedi. Looks like I have to rescue you again, old man, Naruto spoke up as he got behind Obi-Wan. I knew you'd have a backup plan. Always with you and Skywalker, Naruto spoke up before hearing Mirage after a moment. Prove to me you are a slaver. Swing that whip, or die beside him. Those are some shitty options, Naruto muttered as he looked at the clones before looking at RC. You leave me no choice, Highness. Naruto attacked the guard by him before catching his sabers and freed Obi-Wan. Boom. The clones threw grenades as the Padawans attacked the guards in the room before Rex and Fordo dropped down. Guards, subdue them. Ahsoka, Barris, the queen. Naruto yelled as he looked around and missed the two being shocked via their collars. More guards ran out of the doors as Naruto spun his Shoto. The Jedi deflected blasts and dodged whips before the clones were hit, knocking them out. Naruto looked to see Obi-Wan get hit before turning, and had his arms wrapped up. He tried to use the force before several whips wrapped around both arms, legs, neck and around his waist. Despite the massive amount of electricity coursing through his body, Naruto stood strong, letting out a roar as he tried to move, actually gaining a few steps and starting to drag the slavers attempting to hold him in place. Several more guards appeared and wrapped another 6 electro whips around his arms, legs, neck, and torso, further shocking him, but he remained standing. Seeing the electro whips being ineffective, several more guards started shooting him with stun blasts, hitting him 6 times, but he remained standing, letting out a defiant roar. The guards' eyes widened in horror at this before they unloaded a massive barrage of stun blasts, peppering his whole body with the hits until Naruto finally collapsed unconscious, having taken no fewer than 30 hits before finally dropping. Such determination, such passion. Mirage spoke in awe, her face slightly flushed as Naruto fell to his knees and fell on his side. Later, the Padawans are placed in cages at the top of the edge of the palace, dangling over, as Obi-Wan and the clones are in the pits with Naruto being taken to Mirage's room. Later, Naruto woke up in a bed before hearing Mirage. You destroyed my auction and frightened my customers. Count Dooku and half my kingdom are demanding your death. And you're not going to listen to them, right, Your Highness? Or should I say, leader of the anti-slavery group? What? What are you talking about? Mirage asked with a slight stutter. What nonsense. Nah. Naruto got up and stared at her. You see, I have a spy who told me about a group that's fighting the slavery ring here. And that the leader was high up in the government. I won't say who to keep them a secret, but after looking through everything there was only one person high up who could do it without being found out, you. The nail in the coffin was your action when your slave killed herself. The emotion in your eyes, the way you spoke afterward. You see, a normal slaver would have been upset at the loss of a trained slave, especially a female Twi'lek slave, given how they are among the most prized slaves due to their beauty. However, you were indifferent, as if the death meant nothing, which is odd. Again, the real kicker though was your emotions, which would have passed completely unnoticed had I not been force sensitive. You were saddened, if not anguished, that she killed herself. My question is though, why would the queen of a planet that thrives on and has a long history with slavery be opposed to it? Naruto says, causing the queen's eyes to widen. It seems I have underestimated you, Jedi. As for why I am the shadow leader of the anti-slavery faction, you said it yourself. Zygeria is known across the galaxy for one thing, slavery. The majority of the galaxy looks upon our entire race as if we are scum, no better than, if not worse than, the syndicates and huts. They lump all Zygerians together as slavers without a second thought. I detest this nearly as much as I detest slavery. Mirage preaches passionately. And why would the queen of a planet infamous for slavery detest it? Naruto asked, crossing his arms before she looked out the window. When I was younger, my parents were assassinated and I ascended to the throne. Not long after, there was an attempt on my life from a rival political faction that wanted to usurp the throne and become the new ruler of Zygeria. In the chaos, an assassin slipped through my guards and was mere moments from killing me with his blaster. However, just before he fired, a slave assigned to me reacted and pushed me out of the way, taking the shot that was meant for me in his shoulder. Then before the assassin could get a second shot off, my guards were able to kill him. I awoke the next day having fallen unconscious after hitting my head on the floor and was told of the aftermath. The assassins were all eliminated, as was the rival faction that hired them. I then asked what happened to the brave slave that saved me, and my guards brought me out to the balcony where I saw a sight that haunts me to this day. The slave had been mercilessly tortured, his skin flayed from his body before he was decapitated and his head mounted on a pike for everyone to see. I asked what was the meaning of this, as he had saved my life, and the response I got was simply that he was a slave that had not only laid his hands on me, his master, but also injured me and thus was executed, Mirage says, explaining her utter hatred of slavery. So you came to hate slavery and decided to secretly lead a faction to overthrow it on your planet because of this? Naruto asked, raising his eyebrow. Exactly. I could not outright ban slavery due to the complicated political atmosphere of Zygeria, where if I show weakness for even a moment my standing will be usurped. So you want my help in ending slavery on Zygeria? Naruto asked, assuming that now that his cover was blown the queen would ask for his help in ending slavery on Zygeria. Yes, your arrival, while unexpected, is a favorable outcome, though we need to tread very carefully so as to not alert those that oppose the anti-slavery faction, Mirage says, turning back around to face him. So what do we do? We act as if everything is normal until I can get word to my acting head of the group to begin mobilizing our members. Then when everything is ready we attack and eliminate those that oppose the ending of slavery, Mirage says, having Naruto sigh. You're talking about massacring everyone that supports slavery? Naruto asks with his eyes widening. Mirage shakes her head hearing this. No, only those who are higher up in the government of Zygeria, as without them those under them will fall in line with the new order. Very well, Naruto says, agreeing to the plan before walking over. He learned that Obi-Wan was sent to another planet and where the Padawans are before they got on a large lizard to glide. Naruto felt her rest on his back. A people enslaved. To locate the abducted colonists of a peace-loving world, the Jedi infiltrated the slaver planet of Zygeria, only to be captured by its ambitious queen, who plots to rebuild her empire free of oppression. Now even Obi-Wan Kenobi must come to terms with a life in chains for the time being. Kotovo. Obi-Wan Kenobi, once a Jedi master, now a Jedi slave. In a mine, Obi-Wan shoveled coal into a cart and looked up to see an overweight male Zygerian in a hover chair. Pitiful. Obi-Wan continued to shovel with the clones and other slaves. Everything about this place is designed to shatter the will. It has already begun to affect these poor people. He was then hit with a whip as one guard yelled out. Speech is forbidden. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. There will be punishment, the guard yelled before whipping another slave. No, stop, it's my mistake. Leave him alone, Obi-Wan spoke, dropping his shovel. Now a slave gives me commands. Beg me before this one dies because of you. The guard and others started whipping the slaves at that. Please, forgive me, master. Zygeria atmosphere. Long have Sith empires been built upon the backs of slaves. To carry on this tradition, we will require millions. Sidious via a hologram said to Dooku, who was seated. I assure you, the Queen's defiance will not sour your plans, master. If she fails to see the error of her ways, end her rule. On the planet, Naruto was walking with Mirage, who linked her arms around his. Have you considered my offer, Uzumaki? Mirage asked with two guards behind them. If you vow loyalty to me, I will free your friends. It's not an easy decision. Curious. I thought the Jedi were selfless, placing the needs of others before their own. Mirage said before her advisor ran up to them. My queen, I bring word. Count Dooku is on his way here. Ah, sooner than anticipated. Make preparations for his arrival, she said, having him walk away before she walked to the railing. Just as RC turned the corner. So even you have a master, Naruto spoke after glancing to see the two guards stayed behind them. Dooku is not my master. Mirage spoke as she turned and saw the guards as well. Perhaps you should not attend this meeting. Can I trust you not to run away? I don't run away from anything, Your Highness, Naruto said, giving her his sabers. She then left as Naruto went to the railing. And once she was out of sight, fell, having the guards run over to see nothing. Get down there and find that Jedi. One yelled to the other, who nodded. Yes, sir. He ran off and missed Naruto, grabbing the first guard and threw him off. Nice work, pal, Naruto said to RC, who beeped. Trills. You find Barris and Ahsoka. Inside the throne room, Dooku walked in and up to the queen. I wasn't expecting you, Count. Not without an invitation. But I was invited, by your faithful advisor, Dooku said, gesturing at the advisor as Mirage glanced over. He's concerned over how attached you've become to Uzumaki. Uzumaki is a symbol of our power to enslave even Jedi. Mirage said, standing and walking over to the Sith. Your power over him is an illusion. You forget I was once a Jedi myself. You have little in common with Naruto, she said, taking a glass from a slave as Dooku did the same. Please, hear my plans for the Jedi, then decide. Right now, at my facility in the Kotovo system, Obi-Wan Kenobi is in despair. I'm listening, he said, taking a sip. Kenobi is coming to realize, perhaps for the first time in his life, that his efforts to help others will only injure them. As plans for escape and hopes of rescue fade, the gnawing fear that he will never be able to take action will grow in Kenobi's heart. To ease the burden of his fellow slaves, defiance will become compliance. When Kenobi realizes he cannot help those around him, his spirit will break and he will be mine. If such Jedi as Uzumaki and Kenobi can fall, how many others will follow? Imagine an army of Jedi in your service. Zygeria will be invincible. A most ambitious plan, Your Highness. Only my goal is not the enslavement of the Jedi Order, but its extermination. I have come to supervise their execution and perform it if necessary. Now, summon Uzumaki. Outside, Naruto broke the neck of two guards as he looked down at the Padawans. Well, hello, master. Took you long enough. Barris spoke as Naruto smiled. Well, you had a nice view. He pulled them over via the Force before speaking again. Are you okay? I sense a disturbance in the force. It's Dooku. I need you to get our ship. Here, take this comlink. He gave them a link before Barriss spoke up. Where are you going? The Queen knows where Obi-Wan is. Hold on to that comlink and wait for my signal. Come on, RC, Ahsoka said, walking away with the droid and fellow Padawan. Inside, Mirage looked at Dooku before speaking. I have no desire to end Uzumaki's life. He has become a valuable asset to me and my throne. Your compliance is not optional, Dooku said, hands behind his back. I command you to kill Uzumaki. I will not be ordered about in my own palace, Count. If you won't do my bidding, perhaps your Prime Minister will. Mirage narrowed her eyes before looking over at her advisor. Atai, what does he mean? I'm sorry, Your Majesty, but the Count is right. The Jedi should die. You're not fit to be queen any longer. Atai, you traitor. I'll make you both pay for this treachery. She yelled, pulling out a whip. Only to grab her throat as Dooku force choked her. Punishment for a slave who disobeys her master. That's enough, Dooku. Dooku dropped Mirage as Naruto ran in, pulling the whip to him. Uzumaki. Mirage raised her hand as Dooku glanced over. I see the Queen has given you a long leash. One more step and I will end her life. I don't need to be closer to attack you, piece of shit, Naruto said, turning the whip on. Dooku turned his saber on as Naruto stared at him. Naruto attacked with the whip, but Dooku deflected it before attacking. Naruto dodged before the whip was knocked out of his hands and fell as he leaned back from a swipe. Dooku then hit Naruto with Force Lightning, forcing him back several feet. After a moment, Naruto started to stand and surprised Dooku as it looked like he was absorbing the lightning before Naruto dashed to grab Mirage and ran out just as guards ran in. She was murdered by the Jedi, Dooku said as he hid the guards and fired at Naruto, who was at the window. He jumped out as he saw a ship under it before looking down at Mirage. Where is Obi-Wan? Tell me. Kadavo system. You were right, Naruto. She trailed off as she closed her eyes before Naruto walked to the controls and hit a button. Having a hologram of Mirage speaking that she regrets her people were slavers and wanted it to change before playing a video of her advisor and Dooku attacking her. Outside, explosions hit the top of buildings as ships flew over. Zygerian males and females jumped out with jetpacks and started firing at the guards and slavers. For the Queen. Free the slaves. The females started to unlock the slaves and handed them guns and other weapons as the slaves started to attack as well. Inside, Dooku saw the explosions before leaving to get to his ship. The doors closed behind him just as the windows broke with the resistance jumping in. Kadavo. Naruto's ship landed as he, in his armor with BD, ran out with RC and the Padawans in their regular outfits before their ship was destroyed by turrets. So much for our ride home. What now? Ahsoka asked as Naruto took his saber, walked up to the facility, and started melting an opening. We get through the old-fashioned way. Delta 7 and Z-95 headhunters flew around shooting at the turrets and the buildings as well before Naruto kicked the opening. Good thing I didn't come alone. Jedi reinforcements. He heard a person yell out as BD looked around. Boop. Inside, Obi-Wan broke the restraints and started to attack with the clones. Just down the hall, Naruto attacked the guards, killing them. Hearing explosions from the battle outside, they decide to split up with Ahsoka and Barriss devising a plan to have the Republic light cruiser fly underneath the death trap and retrieve the prisoners by having them slide down cable lines. In the command center, Obi-Wan, Fordo, and Rex finish off the remaining Zygerians and Obi-Wan retrieves his lightsaber, seemingly with intent to strike down the defenseless Agrus. Only for Fordo and Rex to hurl two electro staffs with such force that it goes right through the Keeper's fat body and out the back of his chair, which then goes out of control and splatters him against a console, killing him. With the slaves clear, the Wolfpack opens full fire on the prison's support struts, sending the hub plummeting into the caldera and killing any remaining Zygerian slavers still inside. The triumphant. I thank you, the Jedi, and the Republic for saving our lives. Roshti said to Naruto, Ahsoka, Barriss, and Plo Koon. Ahsoka and Barriss are the real heroes, Naruto said, turning to the two Padawans. Without them, I don't think we would have gotten your people to safety. Indeed. Padawan Tano, might I have a word in private? Roshti asked the Padawan, who nodded. Of course. As they left, Naruto walked forward to a person wearing a cloak. I have a safe place you can go, at least for the time being. It is different from your home though. The person chuckles at that and reaches up to caress his cheek, revealing her long nails and showing it's a woman. It was never my home, merely a prison, and if the reports coming in are true then my people are better off with me not around. Though this place you have in mind for me I do hope you visit Uzumaki. She says, bringing her hand down. I may not be around all the time but I do visit fairly often. After all, it's my homeworld, Naruto said, causing her to giggle. Then I am sure it is as interesting and attractive as you are, she says with a smile barely visible on her face given she's hidden by shadows. Naruto sat at a table in a diner listening to Ahsoka explaining how she helped Padme's late separatist friend's son find out who killed her and ran up against Death Watch and split up after getting off the planet. I was told to give you this, she said, dropping a chip on the table. Said she worked for you. Thanks, Naruto replied as he took it and finished his drink. A few days later. So what's the big rush? Anakin asked as he, Obi-Wan, Barriss, Ahsoka, Naruto, and Zul walked down the street in the night. The Jedi Council has called an emergency meeting. I can see it now. Another long, boring debate. Anakin sighed as they got to their ship. Would you rather they call you in to train younglings? Naruto smiled as they missed a sniper on the roof behind them. Are you crazy? Anakin asked before stopping as a shot got near their feet. They all hid before Obi-Wan yelled out. Any idea where that shot came from? Zul looked up to see the sniper on the roof who had a helmet on. A sniper. I see him up there. All right, here's the plan, Naruto spoke up. Anakin, you, Zul, and I will flank him on the right. Ahsoka, you and Barriss cover the lower streets. I'm going after him, Obi-Wan said as they all ran out with their sabers drawn. They take to the roofs to chase after the sniper. They lose him, and Obi-Wan moves out into the open to look for him when the sniper fires and hits him dead. He falls to the street below, crashing into a pile of crates, as Ahsoka runs to him. Anakin tries to chase the sniper, who escapes on a speeder, and when he returns to the others as rain starts to fall. Later, Jedi Temple. I'm worried about Anakin. Naruto with his robes on heard Ahsoka talk to Plo Koon as they all stood in the tombs for Obi-Wan's funeral. He hasn't said a word since it happened. They saw the blanketed body go to the floor as a beam of light shot up to the ceiling. Naruto then walked out and up to the med room. So, how was my funeral? Naruto looked up to see Obi-Wan sitting at a table. It was fine, I thought there'd be more people though. A better performance than your corpse gave. Naruto turned to see Mace and Yoda walk in. Whatever do you mean? I fell from the top of a building. I could have killed myself. Obi-Wan said, picking up an armored plating that had a mark on it. Survived worse, you have, Yoda replied with a hand behind his back. Young Skywalker knows this. I took the vital suppressor as instructed. I was dead to the world when Anakin moved my body. There's no way he could know I was alive. Not know. But since he will, that something is not right. Yoda replied as Naruto crossed his arms. Keeping Anakin on the outside was critical. He said as BD popped up to look over his shoulder. Everyone knows how close they are. It was his reaction that sold the sniper. I'm sure of it. What's done is done, Mace said from his spot as a droid came up with a razor. We need to get your transformation underway. Well, time for a shave. Obi-Wan said as the droid brought the razor up to his head and started shaving him. Tell me about my target. His name is Morlo Aval, Mace said, bringing a hologram of a male Findian. Works directly for Count Dooku. Rumor is their plot will be hatched in 3 revolutions at the festival on Naboo. We tried to make a deal with Morlo for more details, but he was uncooperative, Naruto said, uncrossing his arms with a sigh. Any details that might help me gain his trust while in prison. Aval killed his mother when he was only a boy, Naruto explained as the droid worked on Obi-Wan's beard. Told the authorities he did it because he was bored. I'll try not to bore him. Obi-Wan mused before Yoda spoke. Not a game as this, Obi-Wan. The risks, great they are. Yes, and so are the rewards. Obi-Wan mused, rubbing his face and head. Besides preventing Aval from abducting the Chancellor, he could lead us to Grievous, and possibly Dooku himself. He said as another droid holding a syringe walked up. Facial transformation program loaded. I take it there's no way to have the Chancellor pull out of the festival. No. See it as a sign of weakness, he would. Yoda said as Obi-Wan sighed. Sign of weakness. Wouldn't want that. Obi-Wan said as he laid down and had the syringe inject him in the neck. Transformation initiated. After a moment, his face changed slightly and gained a tattoo on the left side of his face. Okay, let's get you to Oola's, Naruto said as he turned to walk out. Oola's bar. This cantina is a bust. Oola looked up to see a man who looked like Obi-Wan's new look looking around after paying for his drink and talking to a woman. Do you want to go to the next one? Reiko Hardin. Reiko turned to see a droid walk up to him. Who wants to know? Your employer has your payment. Please follow me. Round for the house, Reiko said, getting everyone to cheer. Yes. Oh, yeah. This way, the droid said as they walked to the back room passing dancers on tables. Inside if you please. Reiko walked in and saw a shadowed figure sitting at a table. Well done, Mr. Hardin. You did precisely the job we hired you for. We have your credits right here. But first, we need one more thing. The man stood and walked into the light to reveal the disguised Obi-Wan. Your clothes. What the? Reiko backed up and had a hand grab him. He looks to see Naruto looking at him. After tying him up, and taking his clothes, they asked him questions before Reiko explained his mission. So I took off in my speeder, and then I got a ride here. That's it. Keep talking. Into this, Naruto said holding a metal orb. This is stupid. Confessing to a murder I didn't even do. Oh, but you did, Obi-Wan said, fixing Reiko's clothes. For all intents and purposes, Obi-Wan Kenobi is dead. And that certainly was your intention. How do I look? Like a criminal. Should buy you all the credibility you need in prison. Naruto looked over before Reiko spoke. Look, I don't know what you guys are up to, but do we have enough recordings? Obi-Wan asked as Naruto nodded and stood. I believe so, which means you can go to sleep now. Naruto used the force on Reiko to put him to sleep and handed Obi-Wan the orb. So how does this vocal emulator work? Well, you swallow it. I was afraid you'd say that. Obi-Wan sighed as the orb gained legs and went into his mouth then his throat. What an odd sensation. It will take some getting used to. Obi-Wan said, his voice mirroring Reiko's. That's a luxury you don't have. I hope this works. Later, Anakin and Ahsoka were walking to the bar. I still don't understand. Did Master Yoda say how they found the sniper? She asked Anakin who stopped at the door. Who cares? All that matters is they did. They walked in and looked at Oola who was at the bar. Where is Reiko Hardin? Back room. They walked in to see Reiko asleep on a bed. Is he dead? She asked as Anakin walked over. He's about to be. He woke Reiko up who looked at him. A Jedi. I already killed a Jedi today. Let me sleep. He's not dead. He's drunk. Get up, you filth. Anakin pulled the assassin up and glared. If it was up to me I would kill you right here. But lucky for you, the man you murdered would rather see you rot in jail. Now, let's go, you coward before I change my mind. Anakin then pushed Reiko out. On the other side of the bar, Naruto walked out of the restroom and into a dancer. Hello Naruto, want a private show? No, sorry, I gotta work. Naruto smiled at her before walking away. He then got to Reiko's room before his eyes widened at the empty room. Son of a. He ran up to the bar before speaking. Where's the guy in the back room? Anakin took him. Damn it. Naruto cursed before turning. Aren't you forgetting something? Naruto sighed before smiling as he turned and kissed her before running off as BD popped up. Boop. I was supposed to take him to the prison so I can keep an eye on him. Later, Naruto skids to a stop outside the prison where he sees Anakin and Ahsoka. You almost botched this up Anakin. Naruto spoke in a loud whisper. What are you talking about? Obi-Wan's not dead, he's undercover as Reiko. Seeing their eyes widen, Naruto continued. I was supposed to put him in jail then insist to stay for a while as Obi-Wan gets info on an inmate inside on a plot to kidnap Palpatine. A few days later, Naruto sat at a desk looking over the report Obi-Wan made for his mission. Once inside the prison, Obi-Wan proceeds to make contact with another inmate, Morlo Aval, who is suspected to be a key figure in the plot against the Chancellor. Aval expresses his respect for Hardin for having killed a Jedi, and that Obi-Wan saw Cad Bane was his roommate. And that in addition, Obi-Wan learns that both of them plan to break out of prison very soon. In due time, Bane stages a breakout by having Boba Fett start a fight with Obi-Wan, triggering a general riot which Aval and Bane use as a cover for their escape. Obi-Wan joins them uninvited and surreptitiously aids them in escaping the prison through the Morgan incineration facility, though several of the prison's personnel are killed by Aval and Bane in cold blood on the way. Naruto continues reading that after stealing ships, they crash-land the ship in the swamps of Nal Hutta to further throw any pursuers off their tracks, and he, Morlo Aval, and Cad Bane proceed to the Bilbusa Bazaar to purchase new equipment and a ship. Only for Bane to double-cross Obi-Wan and leave him on the planet. But Obi-Wan put a tracking beacon on the ship to follow in case of betrayal. Naruto continues and read that after contacting Yoda and Mace Windu and asking them to lift the manhunt in order to allow them free movement and provide some money for a new ship, Obi-Wan is rejoined by Aval and an irate Bane, who have only barely escaped the Hutt's forces, just in time to present them with their new ship. After getting off the planet, they went to Sereno to meet Dooku and where they along with others battled in brutal competition to see who would help in the kidnap mission. Only they and 3 others survived before Dooku put Bane in charge of the mission. Only for Obi-Wan to tell the Jedi the plan and be able to save Palpatine as well as a second attempt by Dooku. Sigh, I feel like I'm missing something for this whole damn thing. Naruto sighed as he leaned back in his chair. Several Night Sisters sat around a fire before hearing an engine. Turning, they saw a ship land in the clearing just in front of them. They readied their weapons before Ventress dropped down and walked over. Nodded, she passed them and went into a house where she saw Talzin looking at a pot before she turned. Sister, El knew you'd return. Talzin walked over and hugged Ventress. At that, I've been hiding, re-evaluating. El suspected as much. Talzin pulled back so they could walk. Savage, that monster we created, has forsaken us. He refused my guidance and escaped into the galaxy. El have nothing. You have your breath, your skill, and your sisters. You have everything needed to survive. You must give up the ways of the Sith and return to our fold. You will leave Dooku's absurd war behind and remain with us. No longer to be ordered about. You will be loyal to no one but your sisters, and yourself. Talzin explained as they stopped at the wall to look out a window. And then, you will fulfill your destiny and become a true Night Sister. Later, Ventress walked to a pool of water where Talzin and others stood in a circle. She then stopped in front of Talzin and knelt. Do you pledge yourself to the sisterhood, to the magics, and the old ways? El do. Ventress nodded at her. Do you abandon your old life for this new one? Talzin continued as the others chanted and green energy surrounded them. El do. Your loyalty. Your life. Talzin asked, having Ventress nod again. My loyalty. My life. Ventress laid down having water cover her as they continued chanting while Talzin got out of the circle. Suddenly, Ventress was lifted out of the water and covered in the green energy for a moment before dropping and looking at Talzin. You are now reborn, a sister of the night. Welcome. Thank you, Mother. And now, we feast and celebrate the baptism of our new sister. Sereno, Dooku's palace. In the large building, Grievous walked up to Dooku and knelt. You summoned me, my lord. The time has come at last to take revenge on Asajj Ventress and the witch, Mother Talzin. El have learned Ventress has returned to Dathomir. Go there and wipe the witches out. All of them. Their illusions do not frighten me. Grievous nodded and stood. Yes, master. Turning, he walked outside and up to AB-1 droid. Assemble the fleets. The time to exact vengeance against the traitor, Ventress, has arrived. We go to Dathomir to battle. Dathomir atmosphere. Up in the atmosphere, a separatist fleet appeared before Grievous. In the front ship walked to a group of B-1 droids who looked at him. We are now approaching Dathomir. Begin landing our troops. On the planet, the Night Sisters sat around a fire celebrating as several others danced, swaying their hips before one who was sitting beside Ventress put a hand on her shoulder. I'm privileged to be your sister. Thank you, Karis, Ventress replied before looking up to see ships flying by. Droid fighters. Scatter. They ran as the ships fired before they got their weapons. Prepare yourselves, sisters. Talzin yelled out to the others. The war has come to Dathomir. She finished as a larger ship landed with Grievous. Establish a perimeter and get the droids in attack formation. We'll burn a path through the forest right to their fortress. He ordered as super droids came out and started walking. Up ahead, Talzin stood with two sisters and Ventress. Gather your weapons. The droid army is only here because of me. Ventress looked down at that before looking over at Talzin. And so many are going to die. There is no time for regret. Now we must fight. That gutless coward, Grievous, is coordinating the attack. Can sense it. You know the droids. It gives us an advantage. Talzin said, looking up as a ship flew by and shot at the mountain behind them, having a piece fall on Karis. Karis. Ventress yelled before using the force to lift the rock off and tossed it away before kneeling. Go and lead us to victory. Droids walked and fired at the sisters who shot at them with their bows. Talzin walked over before floating and had a green bubble cover her before green energy shot out hitting droids. Up in the atmosphere just to the side of the fleet, Naruto's Delta 7 flew out of hyperspace before unhooking from the wings. Well, I can see why the Force wanted me here. He mused as BD looked out the windshield. Trills. I don't get us into trouble every week. It's more like once a month. He bit back before flying to the planet. At the battle, Ventress ran up to Talzin, both blades on. We will need an army to fight Grievous. Will speak with old Daka. She will get us the reinforcements we need. Talzin said as she attacked more droids. Follow me, sisters. Attack. Ventress dashed over to attack the droids with her sisters. Ventress activated her lightsabers and took up command of her fellow warriors, spearheading an offensive to drive back the droids. In the back, a B-1 droid was sliced in half as Naruto's Shoto spun down before being pulled to the Jedi ninja. Take to the trees, sisters. We shall attack the droids from above and below. Naruto looked up to see Ventress giving out orders as the other Night Sisters ran up into the trees and attacked. Behind the separatist forward lines of B-1 and B-2 battle droids came BX series droid commandos, intended to strike down any survivors of the Advance Foss's firepower. The Night Sister archers were able to shoot down several droid commandos before the latter reached their vantage point in the trees, while other warriors on the ground cut through the B-1, B-2, and BX series battle droids with daggers. He then dashed up as BD looked over his shoulder. Beep boop. I didn't know she was here. He replied before quickly dashing ahead. He saw a droid about to shoot Ventress before jumping over and slicing its head off. What are you doing here? Naruto smiled before speaking. The Force told me that a damsel in distress needed the help of the best-looking Jedi. The two then turned to attack with the others. Up in the mountain, Talzin was walking with two Night Sisters. Go to my chamber. There you will find a small metallic sphere. Bring it to the hidden cave. Yes, mother. The two replied and walked away. Talzin then walked to a wall, waved her hand and had it split open revealing a green light. Walking in, the crack sealed before she spoke as she saw an elderly woman sitting in a room. Daka, as the oldest and wisest of us, I'll need you to resurrect our fallen sisters. Ventress will need the aid of the undead army to achieve victory. Daka stood up and looked at Talzin. Then will begin the chant of resurrection. She said before she started chanting. After a moment the lights started to glow bright green as energy started coming off and went outside. Rise, rise, awake, dead sisters, rise, 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 awake, dead sisters, rise. Outside, the Night Sisters, reinforcements arrived in the form of an army of the dead. The deceased sisters helped push back the separatists. The undead sisters mindlessly ripped through the separatists' ranks, smashing through everything in their path. Their arrival allowed Ventress and Naruto to press their attack against Grievous and his droid army. The undead will clear us a path right to Grievous, she said taking a tank. Back in the cave, Daka looked up at Talzin. Ventress has her army now. Good. Now El can deal with Count Dooku, she said just as the two Night Sisters ran in, one holding the metal orb. We found it, mother. Here is the orb you requested. Well done, Talzin said, pulling the orb to her and having green energy surround it, having it disappear revealing a lock of gray hair. Ah, here it is. A single lock of Count Dooku's silver hair. He should be more careful than making deals with witches. Talzin smiled before chuckling as the two brought a cauldron over. Now for Dooku. She waved her hand over it as green smoke came out, then a wooden doll of Dooku floated up and into her hand. She then pushed it down into the smoke, having it start to melt. Outside, Ventress and Naruto made a clear direct path to Grievous' landing site. They and several other warriors used the armored assault tank's heavy laser cannon to destroy the defoliator deployment tank. With the undead army clearing the way through the droids, Ventress, Naruto, and the Night Sisters reached the deployment site aboard their stolen tank, abandoning it to push toward the landing craft. They both sliced through droids before seeing Grievous walk out of a ship. Surprised, Ventress asked, motioning towards the army of hers. Hardly. You're the one L was sent here for. Then prove you're the greater warrior. She said, holding her sabers up. If we win, your army leaves. If you win, the Night Sisters will surrender to you. Grievous pulled up his arms and separated them before turning on all four of his blades, 2 blue and 2 green. L have always been greater than you. He dashed over as Naruto jumped forward to block 2 with his as Ventress did the same to the other 2. They twisted and parried each other's swipes. Naruto ducked under Ventress, swipe at Grievous before using the force to throw him back. The cyborg tried to get back up to stop as Naruto fired at him with his blaster. A droid dropped down and hit Ventress in the shoulder, having one of the sisters take her and run off. As they were running, a droid shot the sister, having her look up at Ventress. Doom is upon us, sister. Run. Save yourself. Naruto saw Grievous get in his ship and fly off towards the mountain as he saw the droids shoot the sisters. Damn it. After a moment, he saw the undead drop before dashing to the mountain. He saw Ventress kneeling at the ghost of Talzin, who spoke to her. It is over, sister. No one remains. This is all my fault. Where do L go? What do L do? Ventress asked the ghost. This chapter is over. Your destiny will always be linked with ours. But you have your own path to follow now. Talzin explained before disappearing as Ventress reached for her. No. Wait. You can't leave me here. Naruto walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. We can look for any survivors. No, no one survived. You should feel that through the force. You can come with me. I have a home not in this dimension. You can find yourself there. Naruto said as she shook her head. No, I need to find my own path. A few weeks later, Coruscant. Naruto, in his room, read another report on the Jedi learning that Darth Maul, a Dathomirian male whom Obi-Wan killed 10 years before the Clone Wars started, had come back with robotic legs. And he sent a hologram message to the Jedi Temple, challenging Obi-Wan to come to him and Savage. Despite Mace Windu's suggestion to send in a Jedi task force, Obi-Wan decides that he must go alone to rectify his mistake. Obi-Wan travels to the Radonian village and is quickly taken down by Maul and Opress, who take him aboard their hijacked freighter to be tortured to death. However, just before they take off, Ventress, who became a bounty hunter, has landed on the planet, found their ship and hitched a ride. Appearing before the two brothers, she taunts them saying Savage is still an animal, making them abandon an unconscious Obi-Wan to search for her. Ventress returns to Obi-Wan, wakes him up and lends him one of her lightsabers for his defense when Maul and Opress return. The two team up to fight the brothers, but find themselves outmatched and just barely escape by jettisoning the ship's cockpit, leaving Maul and Opress adrift. Coruscant, Jedi Temple Council Room. Naruto, Zul, Anakin, and Ahsoka stood in the room with the Masters, some via holograms, as they looked at a hologram of Lux and another man. Unfortunately, the only way to reclaim Onderon will be through armed struggle. But we lack sufficient hardware and supplies. Onderon is under your king's rule, Obi-Wan said from his seat. And at the outbreak of the Clone War, he chose to align it with the Separatists. Our true king has been silenced, the man said, looking at Obi-Wan before continuing as he looked at the others. The one you recognize is a traitor and a Separatist minion. We need your help to survive this. Find a way we shall, Yoda spoke as he looked up from thought. We await your answer. Lux nodded before the hologram shut off. There are pockets of rebels on many of these planets that just need guidance, Anakin explained from his spot. With training and resources, they could attack soft targets while the Republic continues to engage them on the battlefield. That sounds like terrorism, Anakin, Obi-Wan spoke up from his seat. Well, I think of it as an insurgency to help realign these planets with the Republic. We can divide the separatist forces and press them on two fronts. Naruto picked up after Anakin before Yoda leaned forward in his set. A means to an end fear cannot be. Stop those who spread terror, the Jedi must. Indeed, what you're suggesting would open up dangerous possibilities. And we must not train terrorists, Obi-Wan said as Anakin turned to his former master. Rebels. How we conduct war is what distinguishes us from others. Funding rebels to overthrow a legitimate government puts innocent lives at risk. We can minimize collateral damage by using arms that mainly affect droids. The least we can do is help them defend themselves. Test the tactic while we're at it, Mace said as Naruto crossed his arms. This could be a great new weapon for us. Train and observe. Send advisors we will, Yoda said after thinking for a moment. I'll assemble a team, Anakin said before Obi-Wan stood. I'm going with you. What, you don't trust me? Too much. That's what worries me. Onderon. This is Valkyrie 2929. We're coming up on the drop zone. A clone said as he landed a ship in the forest at night. The hatch opened up, having another tell Anakin, Ahsoka, Naruto, Zool, and Kakashi with an eye patch and without his Hi-8 in cloaks and Rex in regular clothes to jump off. Go, 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 go. As they landed, Rex, using a jetpack, looked up as the ship left. They then jumped through the trees before landing on the ground as a man watched them from a bush. He then brought his hand up to speak as a communicator. We've spotted them, sir. With the others, as they walked around a tree, a woman with dark skin and hair in dreadlocks stopped them on an animal. Stay where you are. Identify yourselves. It's all right. We're friends, Naruto said, raising his hands at her as more people surrounded them. Jedi. I'm General Uzumaki with Generals Kenobi and Skywalker. These are Captain Rex, Commandeers Tano, Zis, and, well, I guess General Hitaki. We're here to help you take back your planet, Naruto explained as he looked around. My name is Steela, the woman replied before turning to walk. I'll guide you to our secret base. Later as dawn approached, Steela took them to her base where they saw the used equipment. A bit rough around the edges, wouldn't you say? Obi-Wan said as Kakashi nodded. I've seen bandit camps with better stuff. That's why I brought Rex here. Anakin pointed at the clone as they continued walking. They're not exactly what I would call shinies, sir, but I could work with them. As they got to the middle, a man with dark skin and short black hair with a goatee dropped down on a flying animal. General Skywalker, Uzumaki. At your service, Anakin replied as Naruto waved as BD walked around scanning stuff. This is General Kenobi, Hitaki, Commander Tano, Zis, and Captain Rex. We're looking forward to taking the fight to those scrappin' droids, the man said as Naruto nodded. Yes, all in good time. Saw Gerrera. He fashions himself as our leader, though no one elected him, Steela said as she stood beside Saw. Well, for now, we're in charge, and there is much to learn, Anakin said to them with a smile. They then went to a table where Anakin then continued. The Separatists have strength in numbers. We're gonna show you how to target and destroy them. Now, to be clear, we are not here to fight your war, rather, to show you how to conduct it most efficiently and successfully possible, Obi-Wan spoke before Anakin looked over at Rex. Captain Rex. I'll show you how the 501st destroys clankers. First, I need volunteers to carry supplies from our entry point a half-click west. Shouldn't be a problem, Saw said as Rex nodded and walked with him and Kakashi. Excellent. Lux, it's good to see you again, Ahsoka said as she and Zool walked over to the team. It's good to see you too, Ahsoka. I didn't realize you had such strong ties to Onderon. Onderon is my home. My mother represented it in the Senate. Your voice is strong like hers was, Steela said as she walked up to follow them. Have you reconsidered joining the Republic Senate? Zool asked as she talked to Ahsoka about Lux. Even if we do take back Onderon, it won't change how I feel. I'm not fighting for the Republic. Lux replied as they walked. Well, what matters now is, we need each other's help, just like we did on Karlak, Ahsoka said as Steela blinked and stopped at that. Karlak. What happened on Karlak? Ahsoka is the reason I'm here and not with Death Watch, Lux replied as he turned to face her. Really? What he means is, she saved me from a huge mistake. Lux interrupted the Tortuga Padawan before leaving as Steela walked to Ahsoka. Lux thinks highly of you. I guess so. Let's hope that respect is well-founded, Steela said before leaving as Zul looked over at Ahsoka. She likes you. They then went to a tank where Ahsoka started to give out training. The pilot in the front hatch controls the tank, the shelves, and the short-range blasters. The commander in the top hatch controls the turret and the main cannon. You have to take out both chambers. Otherwise, the tank will remain operational. She then looked back at Rex who nodded and got on the tank. He opened a hatch and threw a grenade inside before jumping up to the top hatch and throwing another before jumping off. Everyone, divide up into teams of 2, and we'll practice an assault on both hatches, Naruto said as he saw Kakashi training in a hit-and-run tactics at the next group. I'll take the top, Lux said to Saw who elbowed him. Let's see what you're made of, Bonteri. The two ran over, but Lux fell onto Saw as he slipped off the cannon. Ah, sorry about that. You're a terrible soldier, Bonteri. I'm not sure if they're more interested in fighting the droids or each other, Obi-Wan said to Naruto and Anakin as Naruto sighed. They'll learn. They're just not used to working together yet. We need time to train them properly. Keep your eyes on the quick learners. In this fight, time is not on our side. Go, 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 Rex said to the group as they started again. Later, they're still doing it as Rex gives out orders. Come on, move it like a soldier, like a real soldier. Come on, Dono. Pick it up, Hutch. You can do better than that, Saw said to the two who tried the exercise. Come on, hustle. I said hustle. That's what I'm talking about right there. Go, go, go. Good, good, Rex said before Saw looked to see Stella with Lux before walking over. You sure you're up for this? Saw. It was an accident, Lux said as Naruto looked over. You would have had us both killed. Just stop it, Steela said pushing the two away from each other before Saw looked at Lux. Sit down, boy. This isn't the Senate. You've got no talent for this. It's going to take a lot more than muscle to defeat the Separatists. Lux bit back at Saw who scoffed. Politics have failed us. We have no choice. We always have a choice. Then make yours, Saw said before Naruto walked over. Keep that energy for the enemy or you've already lost. Look, if we're going to succeed, you'll need to be exceptional with words and action. There will be time for both, Steela said having Saw walk away as Naruto walked to a group of disabled destroyers with Zul. Destroyers are quick, pack twin blasters, and come with their shield generators. Nothing short of a cannon will pierce it. But they do have two weaknesses, and you will need to work together to exploit them. Naruto explained before looking at Rex and nodding. Rex turned one on via remote before Naruto continued. The shields deflect high-velocity attacks. What the shields don't stop or slow or stationary objects. They're designed to absorb them so nothing hinders their movement. Zul threw a small EMP grenade slowly at the shield, having it go through the shield. It went off and turned the droid off before she spoke. Destroyers are blind from behind. A distraction combined with a rear assault will give you a kill. The trick is to get the right speed on the droid popper. Rex turned all three on before holding the grenade up to speak. These are unarmed. Just concentrate on getting it past the shield. He threw it at Saw who grabbed it and walked forward. Watch and learn. He tossed the grenade, having it roll only to bounce off the shield from going too fast. Quite brilliant, Lux said before catching a grenade and tossing it and having it go through. Not bad, Steela said before tossing one and having it bounce off. Be mindful of your frustration. It'll only hold you back, Obi-Wan commented walking up. Here, Lux started rolling her arm to show her how to do it. Use your shoulder, let your arm swing. And keep your eyes on the target. Great. Okay, let's get back to work. Naruto said to the group as he walked to another area. Everyone, pair up. We'll practice in groups. Later, Saw still struggled to get the timing right before looking over at Zool. I can't get the distance or the speed right. Don't give up. Learning this could save your life and those around you. A little backspin might help, she explained, tossing another grenade to him. He threw it and got it to go through the shield before smiling. You got it. You're a good teacher, Jedi. Naruto saw Steela walk to the trees before following as BD looked over his shoulder. Trills. I'll never learn this, she said, looking over a rifle. Keep practicing, Naruto said with a shrug as she looked up. You made it look easy. It wasn't always that way. Right, the Force, that your secret? She asked as he smiled. No, perseverance. Look, you'll get the hang of it. I wouldn't let it get you down. I'm not feeling down, I just know what I'm good at, Steela said as Naruto sighed before seeing she looked through the scope. They walked to a target range where droid heads were the targets before she shot one. Impressive, most impressive, Anakin spoke as he walked up. Fixed targets are one thing, Zool said before Ahsoka lifted a head and had it sway. How about this? Steela hit the head before Naruto smiled. Nice job. You have mastered your ability to focus, Obi-Wan said before Rex spoke. A headshot is the only decisive way to disable a droid. They don't need arms, legs, or even bodies to pass intel to Central Command. Alright, shoot at will. Steela aimed and saw something in the woods. Wait a minute, what is that? Droids. Take cover. It appears the training is over, Obi-Wan said as the Jedi turned their sabers on and Kakashi pulled out a regular sword. I'll take the left flank if you take the right. No, Anakin, we can only protect them. We cannot fight this war for them, Obi-Wan said as Kakashi looked over. I'm not a part of either side. He dashed around slicing heads off droids as Naruto looked at Steela. There are too many, but we can hold them off while you get your people out of here. You didn't teach us to run, Steela said as Naruto looked at the droids. Saw, use your disruptors to take out the droids, she said into her comms. I'm on it, Saw said before looking at the group. Ready disruptors. On my mark. Now. They threw bombs that exploded, destroying a group of droids. Boom, boom, boom. A tank then came out of the woods and the rebels fired at it before Lux and Saw successfully disabled it from their practice. Boom. Now you look more like a soldier than a politician, Saw said to Lux as they stood and patted the dirt off them. Well, maybe a good politician needs to get dirty now and then, Steela replied with a smile at LKYX before they walked back to camp where Obi-Wan looked at the group. Take confidence from this victory. But rest assured, there will be more droids coming now that they know your position. It doesn't matter. You're ready now. Anakin picked up, arms crossed. We are going to take the fight to the droids. You don't have to hide in the jungle any longer. Droids were a bit dim, more so than I imagined, Saw spoke up before Ahsoka looked at him. They make up for it in numbers. They're designed to overwhelm. But they're not designed to deal with our approach, Naruto spoke with a smile as Lux raised a fist. We hit them where they least expect it. And before they realize what happened. We fade in with the rest of the population. Steela continued off looking at the others. Exactly. We need a plan to get inside the city. Zool raised her hand at that as Lux smiled. I have an idea. Later, at a city, the Jedi in cloaks rode beside Lux and Kakashi in separate carts that had animal pelts on them with Steela on the back, one with Naruto and Zool. Kakashi, Obi-Wan, and Anakin ride beside the carts. Naruto looked up to see Obi-Wan riding beside them as they got to a gate that closed. Identification please, AB-1 droid said walking up with two more. What were you doing outside of the city gates? Hunting, Lux replied, glancing back at the pelts. We've been trekking for days. Did you register before your excursion? No, but most of our time is spent in the bush, collecting our traps. We come to the city to sell. You can't get thrip larvae like this in Isis, Lux said before thumbing over his shoulder. Only the biggest trees on the other side of Onderon. Hey, listen, we need to deliver all of this in time for supper. Steela finished as 2B1 droids scanned the pelts. Are you scanning anything? It's hard to tell with so much organic matter. Come on. Our merchants are waiting inside. Can you hurry it up? Steela said as the first B1 droid looked at the others. Let them through. Roger, Roger. They went through before Ahsoka looked at Lux. Good plan. As Saw said, those droids are dumber than we thought. Not a bad start, Naruto said, riding up to them. But now the hard work begins. He said before looking back at Lux. You must find recruits and choose your targets wisely. They'll be looking for us, Steela said as Lux stood as well. We should split up. Regroup after nightfall, Saw said, getting off the cart. I'll alert our brothers. We'll make sure you have the supplies you need, Anakin said as Ahsoka nodded. Rex, Zul and I will take care of that. Good luck. How do you think they'll do? Anakin asked Obi-Wan as the Jedi looked at each other. I have a feeling we'll be pleasantly surprised. So you admit our new strategy will work? Anakin asked with a smile as Obi-Wan mirrored it. I am hopeful, Anakin, hopeful. Isis. Despite the absence of civilian casualties, public fear ensued as reports of the rebels' daring strikes circulated throughout the city. Naruto watched as the rebels took out droids using the grenades while looking up to see Steela shooting droids from a rooftop. He then looked to see several groups quickly hit another group of droids as Kakashi blended into a crowd. What's going on? No. The rebels are attacking again. A droid said running with another. That is the 5th time this rotation. Steela shot the droids and looked over at Anakin. That should give King Rash something to think about. Huh, I'm sure you've gotten his attention. Over at the palace, Rash, a man with fair skin, black hair, and a beard looked out over a balcony. Dendip has been summoned and awaits your order, my lord. Rash turned to the alien at that. What about the terrorists? They've attacked a checkpoint near the canal and 2 droid patrols, one in Malgan Market. His counselor replied before they walked inside. If they think destroying a few droids is going to affect change, they've run a fool's errand. One more thing, my lord. The royal carriage was ambushed soon after it left the residence. An attempt on my life. Rash sighed as he rubbed his beard before sitting on a throne. It appears that way. Get my predecessor in here. Rash ordered as commando droids walked an elderly man in. You surprise me. Engaging with extremists is beneath you. Do you want your crown back that badly? I only want freedom for my people. The man said as Rash ate fruit before tossing most of it into a fire. Your supporters are responsible for terrorist acts against the kingdom and our allies. I didn't know that. You've made it quite impossible to stay informed of anything outside my prison chamber. Call off the attacks, Rash ordered the man who sighed. I cannot call off what I did not dictate. What you are up against is simply the will of the people. It's up to the king to embrace, bend, or break it. And I am no longer the king. Stop the attacks, or you will atone with your life. Rash threatened the man. It is you that must end the attacks by ending the droid occupation. Outside, the Jedi walked to a house with the rebels before sitting in a room. Your success will not go unnoticed, Anakin told them, having the rebels cheer. I agree, but we need to be mindful of public perception. What was your observation, Padawans? Obi-Wan asked the 2 before Ahsoka spoke up. The people were fearful, Master. Indeed. Judging from the reactions I saw today, I'm afraid they will mistake your intentions. Naruto explained looking around at the group. We need to do more damage. A few dozen broken down droids will do little to free Onderon. Saw said, punching his palm. The people need to believe we can succeed. Steela picked up after him. Without their support, our efforts are meaningless. If they're afraid, they won't support us. We need to assure them of our intentions. Lux leaned forward at that. I don't understand. Why are they afraid? Saw asked before Steela looked over. They're afraid we're not strong enough to win. We need to earn their trust. You'll have plenty of time to earn their trust. All of you are going to be very busy. Anakin spoke before Rex looked over, crossing his arms. Today was only a taste. You'll get your chance. In the meantime, make the most of your victories. Welcome, and learn from them. Obi-Wan said before Lux stood. Perhaps if we hit something big, give a show of strength, they will overcome their fear and join us. Do you have something in mind? Zul asked as Lux smiled. I know the perfect target. They all then walked out before Anakin looked at Rex. I think they're ready to give the 501 some competition. Let's not get carried away, General, though these rebels have impressed me. Rex looked back before they stopped. We will share the developments with the Jedi Council. Ahsoka and Zul will remain here as advisors. Obi-Wan explained as his hands were clasped together. Monitor them and report back with their progress. Are you up for it, Snips? Or would you like to return to Coruscant? Anakin asked his Padawan who looked back. No, Master. I want to stay. Good. We should continue to provide supplies and credits, but they must learn to operate on their own. Their survival depends on it. Naruto explained to the two who nodded. Yes, Master. Remember your purpose, Anakin said before they left with Kakashi following. Later, Steela was looking at a building with her sniper rifle as Saw was on her right, and Lux, Ahsoka, and Zul were on her left. This power generator feeds substations across the city, Lux explained to the group. We hit that, and the entire grid falls. How does that help us? Battle droids are no longer linked to central control. They operate individually, Steela said looking back at Lux. Yes, but they still need the power to recharge. If we take out this facility, it will knock out the power grid, and then it will only be a matter of time until the droid army is brought to a standstill, literally. If you carry the plan out by nightfall, you'll maximize your strike capability, Ahsoka said, turning to them. Okay, so we just need to figure out how to destroy the power station. We need to do more surveillance, Zul said from her spot, and Saw looked down at the droids. Those droids should have all the intel we need stored up in those tin cans of theirs, right? He asked as Zul nodded. They should. Then I'll get us one. He slid down the incline they were on and snuck up to AB-1 droid from an alley. Hey, Clanker. He ripped the head off it before running back. They then attached the head to a device and downloaded its intel to come up via hologram. Sentries at every access point, inside and out. He explained looking at the red dots on the building. We can't sustain combat against their numbers. Lux sighed as he looked at the map. But our size makes us perfect for mobility and surprise, Steela explained, holding her rifle. We need something with heavy firepower if we are to blow up this facility. If you give them enough trouble, they'll call for reinforcements. Zul mused having Steela look at her. Like a tank. Exactly. Then you can provide cover while we hijack it, Lux said to Steela punching his palm. And then we use their weapons against them. And we bring the droid army to its knees. Saw finished turning the map off. Later, as the sun set, the group stood in an alley and saw a woman stop a car before getting off and ran to the building opposite of them as a group of droids walked by it. Remember the plan. We attack this patrol, and hopefully, they will call in a tank for backup. Steela said before the other woman hit a detonator. And had the car explode an EMP before the rebels started attacking. Let's go, Saw said, running with a gun as they attacked. Patrol 118 to Central. Terrorists have ambushed us and need reinforcements. AB-1 said before Steela shot its head. Let's hope they send a tank, Ahsoka said before hearing something. Hear that? They've sent destroyers. Move. She and Zul turned to see 3 destroyers roll up before they started shooting. Both Padawans deflected them. We're not gonna last unless we take out those destroyers, Saw said to Lux who nodded. We have to get behind them. Let's go. Saw nodded before running with Lux. They got behind them before Saw tossed a grenade disabling one. He turned to remind Lux to roll slowly just as the team threw it, having him throw too fast. Saw pushed Lux away and hid behind the disabled droid as the other started firing at him. Steela, seeing this, ran holding her grenade and dived past it, slowly putting the grenade in the shield. Thanks, Lux said as he and Saw helped her up as the Padawans and another rebel ran up. I've never seen a destroyer taken out that way before, Ahsoka said, handing Steela her gun. We all have to adapt, Steela replied, holding her gun up. They then turned to see a tank turning the corner. There's our tank. Split up, Zul said as they ran in opposite directions. Hiding behind boxes, Steela shot super droids by the tank before Lux and Saw walked up and disabled the tank. Good work. Now, let's get this thing up and running again. Saw said after he saw Steela take care of the last two droids. Getting in, he tried turning it on. What are you waiting for? Lux asked as Saw looked at the controls. Give me a second. Do you know what you're doing? Yeah, I know what I'm doing, Saw replied before Steela walked up to stare in. You boys having a problem? No, no problem. Why? Well, come on, we need to get moving. Steela spoke with a smile before looking around. Hey, who put you in charge? All right, get out of the tank, hotshot. This needs a woman's touch. Steela said as Saw got out at that. Fine, be my guest. We need to get to that power generator before they realize this tank's gone missing. We're running out of time, Steela said, picking up a device and then reaching under the controls. I was gonna do that. Sure, she chuckled before pulling two wires to connect to her device. Couldn't have done it better myself. Now, that's the truth, Steela replied to Saw after turning the tank on and allowing Saw to get back in to drive it toward the power plant. Once getting there, Steela spoke as she and the Padawans got off. I'll draw their fire. Good luck. Good luck. They then got in front of the gate to start shooting the droids. The Padawans started deflecting blasts before the tank rolled up and shot the gate. Boom. Steela ran up as commando droids ran out before looking up at Saw. Fire the gun. The gun is recharging. After taking care of the droids, Steela looked up. You're all clear. After recharging, Saw shot the generator in the middle, having a pulse go off. Looks like all that training is paying off, Ahsoka said as she and Zool put on trifocal night goggles. Palace. In the palace, the councilmen turned to Rash as they saw the plant explode. My lord, without power, the droids will be massacred. This loss will work for us, Rash explained before walking inside. City. Out in the city, in the cover of darkness, the rebels started attacking the droids. There's been a power outage. It's the rebels. One civilian yelled out. Fight for Onderon. They're destroying the droids. Free Onderon. Freedom. Fight for freedom. Later, the rebels are in their hideout when one speaks up. Show those droids what we're worth. We must celebrate, Steela said as she raised a glass as Saw patted her on the back. With pleasure. Come here, you handsome senator, Steela said before hugging Lux. Steela is a born leader, Rex said as he and the others stood via hologram. And quite courageous, I hear. Obi-Wan looked over at that. This latest development will surely get Count Dooku's attention. He will respond harshly. They will stop at nothing to find you. You must adapt and continue to confront them to liberate Onderon, he said to the group as Steela and Saw looked at him. We will. And we shall win, she said after Saw. In that, I have no doubt. Obi-Wan nodded before Naruto looked up at them. Now you must rally the people. You will need their support. Your ability to influence them will also determine your capacity to represent them not only on the battlefield but off of it against your enemies, even within your ranks. Your commitment will inspire others. Your conviction will lead to victory. After tonight's efforts, the people will be ready to follow. You will need a leader for them to rally behind. Obi-Wan finished as they looked at each other. Palace. In the palace, Rash was speaking to Dooku via hologram. They are waging a very public war. Every trespass is an embarrassment, he said before sitting on the throne. Your forces cannot manage a small band of terrorists, Dooku asked with a raised eyebrow. My lord, your droids have become ineffective against the mounting rebel attacks. I thought I could trust you to rule Onderon. I find this report most disappointing, Dooku said as Rash picked up another fruit. It seems that the rebels are far more organized than they were in the past. The attack against the power generators proves that. Perhaps it's time you send me better reinforcements than the droids I have. I will grant you this request and not only send you better droids but a better general, Dooku explained as a tactical droid walked up beside him in the hologram. This is Kalani. I assure you he will succeed where you have failed. Rebels. We must build on our momentum and continue our attacks to keep them off balance. Saw said to the group before Lux continued. We have to assure the people first. If we keep disrupting their lives, we risk alienating them. We have to gain their trust. I agree with both of you, Steela said before looking up at the two. We can balance both. We also need to recruit others to join us. Onderon is ours. We will remind everyone and keep reminding them until we get it back. Onderon is ours. Onderon is ours. Free Onderon. Onderon. For freedom. The rebels yelled before one woman stood up. All in favor of Stila as our leader, raise your hand. The rebels raised their hands at that. Okay. Looks like it's been decided. Saw said before walking off. You're the leader. Saw. Let him go. He just needs to blow off some steam. He'll be back. I can't, Stila said to Lux, who put a hand on her shoulder to stop her. Why? Ahsoka asked as she turned to walk away. He's my brother. The rebels were placing devices around the city before Saw looked up to see another tank and more droids. Looks like more reinforcements. A small droid convoy leading a multi-troop transport. An AAT bringing up the rear. He said to a communicator before seeing his sister and another group start to fire from the roofs. Ah, it's an ambush. We need reinforcements. The tank then blew up before Stila spoke up as holograms of herself came up throughout the city. Do not be afraid, brothers and sisters. We mean you no harm. People of Onderon, the time has come to take back our freedom. We have all been deceived. King Rash is a traitor who has sold Onderon to the separatists for the crown. But Onderon is ours. We need your strength to reclaim our planet and restore our sovereignty under our true king, King Dendip. Palace. In the palace, Rash was talking to the tactical droid Kalani. The terrorists are no longer a nuisance but a threat to Onderon. It is only a matter of time before they are all eliminated, Kalani said in a deep electronic voice. How much longer before they plunge us into chaos? It seems they're only targeting the droid army. A middle-aged guard said. If you allow the Royal Onderon militia to assume control of security, the terrorists may stop and discuss terms. You will assume nothing, General Tandon, Kalani said to Tandon as he raised a hand. With their coordinated attacks and weapons, it is possible they're finding sympathy within your ranks. The threat is external, and your reinforcements have done little to stop them. We will not negotiate with terrorists, Rash said from his seat, dropping a fruit down in a bowl. They fear diplomacy. They embrace mayhem. What do we know about them? He asked as an astromech droid came in and had a hologram of Stila appear. We've identified Stila Guerrera as the woman in the hologram. Her brother, Saw, is also part of the group as well as the fugitive criminal Lux Bonteri. Tandon explained, having a picture of Lux come up. The late Senator Mina Bonteri's son. Yes, my lord. Why was I not told of this? Kalani asked Tandon, who turned to face the droid. You just were. Enough. Rash spoke, interrupting the two. It's clear that Dendip is behind this. We mustn't allow his followers any momentum. Justice must come swiftly, without mercy. Bring him in. The guards then grouped Dendip in at that. What now? He asked as he stopped by them. Your supporters have begun to publicly decry my reign. Am I still to believe you are not behind their attacks? You must order them to surrender, Kalani said, turning to Dendip. Impossible. I have been isolated and alone without visitors, confined to my prison. Again, the will of the people is theirs, not mine. Dendip replied, hands behind his back. Well, then we shall see what the will of the people is made of, Rash said, leaning back on the throne. Rebels. Okay, guys, put it in the back with the rest. Stila said to two men carrying a box as the rain started falling. Stila. She turned to see a woman walk up to her and the Padawans were beside her. They're executing King Dendip tomorrow in Yolan Square. Where did you hear this? Malgan Market. The merchants. The separatists are saying he's behind our attacks. More lies. They're making him an example to humiliate us. Stila sighed before walking back into the base. Maybe, but their efforts could work against them, Ahsoka said before Zul spoke up after. Executing him would only make him a martyr. We can't let him die, Saw said, walking up from the back of them. We have to break him out somehow. No, we should wait until he's in public, at the execution. Steele said as Saw sighed. That's where they'd expect it. I know, but this is our moment. We'll save him for all of Isis to witness. We don't have much time. They're counting on us to show up. Saw turned to walk out at that. Where are you going? Trust me. Stop, Stila ordered, having Saw stop just outside the door. Let me take care of this. This isn't about you, Stila said before Lux walked up. We can't afford a reckless move right now. Yeah, go write a speech about it. You have to weigh the risk, Zul said to the group before Saw pulled his hood up. That's why I'm going alone, he said before leaving. Follow him, Stila said to the woman who nodded. Later that night, Stila was looking at a pad before Lux walked up. Stila, Saw is strong, he'll be fine. He's always been brash, never think. He doesn't realize, by leaving us, he's hurting us. We need a plan, she explained, bringing a map up before continuing. They'd bring King Dendip through the east entrance of Yolan Square. Security will be tight, and rescuing him will not be easy. Lux, please don't look at me like that, she said, noticing Lux was staring. Forgive me, I'm sorry. Listen, I just need to be alone right now. Gather everyone to go over the plan, Stila said, having Lux nod and leave. Of course. In another room, the Padawans were talking to the 3 Jedi via a small hologram. I sense fear in you, Ahsoka. The rebels are divided. If they try to rescue the king now, I'm afraid we might lose them. We cannot control their fate, Obi-Wan said, hands behind his back as Zul sighed and looked at them. It's just, they're risking their lives to save just one. Do not underestimate the king's power. He represents hope and he's critical to their success. I feel responsible for them. Ahsoka sighed before Anakin crossed his arms. I know you do, Snips, but remember, in this instance, the purpose must come before feelings. I know, Master. Step in only if you must, but remember, if this experiment is to become an effective strategy, they must learn to survive on their own. Yes, Master Kenobi. We understand, Zul said before turning the comm off. By the palace, Saw grappled up to the wall and jumped down on a droid. He turned to see Dendip before walking over and knelt. My lord. Who are you? I'm Saw Gerrera. What do you want? Dendip asked Saw, who looked up. You freedom, sire. You're to be executed tomorrow, but I'm getting you out of here. The people of Onderon need your help. Stand up, Dendip said, walking away. Are you one of the meddlers creating disorder, interfering in the affairs of the throne? Only to restore your kingship as the rightful ruler, Saw replied, looking at him. I see. This was all my doing. I opened the door. That's why the separatists are here. I was faced with a difficult choice, to join the Republic or the Confederacy. Both are corrupt, but I had to pick a side before one was chosen for me, except I chose neither. Now is the time to take back Onderon. Our movement is gaining momentum. It has the backing of the Jedi. Saw explained as he walked over to the elderly former king. Jedi. Yes, sire. I've been waiting a long time for this. Follow me, sire. Onderon awaits, Saw said, grabbing Dendip and shooting his grapple. Only for it to hit a red shield as an alarm went off. One-way shield. Rebels. Do any of you have questions? Stila asked after explaining their plan before Lux looked up. It's a risky plan, but it's our best shot. Zul, Ahsoka, will you join us? We can't, Ahsoka replied after shaking her head. We've already been more involved than the council wanted. I'm afraid we've been instructed to sit this one out. They have Saw. The woman from earlier yelled as she ran in. He's alive, but I watched them take him away. We have to save him. Lux stood up at that before Stila sighed. No, we have to save King Dendip. We don't have time or the bodies to do both. He's your brother. That's what Saw would want, what he would expect. And I expect the same from everyone in this room, she replied, looking around at the rebels. I know it's a hard choice, but I agree, Ahsoka said, walking up. Purpose must come before feelings. Palace. In a room, Saw was shocked before Kalani stopped for a moment. Where are the other terrorists? Onderon is our system, not yours. Saw a bit back before being shocked again. Enough, Tandon said, having the other droid turn off the current. Before he looked at Kalani. We have to keep him alive. He is a direct link to the terrorists. You pity him. I pity your ignorance. You can control the people of Onderon, but you won't sustain it against their will. What you're doing guarantees others will take his place. Tandon said, walking behind Saw as Kalani looked at him. They, too, will suffer. Then the war is lost. You have strong tactics, but, unfortunately, you cannot calculate a different approach. Morning. Here, drink. Tandon dropped a cup at Saw's head as Saw was sitting at a table before leaning back up. It will give you strength. The separatists have very little compassion or patience for things that stand in their way. We have a duty to protect what's ours, General, a duty once entrusted to you. Saw said looking over. I thought you depleted your arrogance with Kalani. It replenishes every hour. Saw smirked at that as Tandon stood. King Rash is the crowned head of Onderon. What's yours is his, and he will do with it as he pleases. Dendip is the true king. Saw bit back, leaning back in his seat. Are you following his orders? We take orders from no one, Saw replied as Tandon stood in front of the table. Aligning yourself with the past does not bode well for your future. We share the same future. We can sit here as free men or servants of the separatists. Saw explained, having Tandon slam his fist on the table. I am free, while you have chosen to become a terrorist. I'm not a terrorist, I'm a patriot, and resistance is not terrorism. King Dendip chose his people instead of taking a side in the intergalactic war. Separatists have taken over Onderon because we let them. Morning courtyard. Rash brought Saw and Dendip to the bottom of the steps, putting Dendip as a device that has a red shield between it. As your king, I present to you Ramses Dendip not as a former king but as a criminal sponsoring terrorist acts against the people of Onderon. But fear not, good citizens. As your leader and protector, I will see that you are safe from such villainy. He has betrayed you, and today he will pay for those treasonous deeds with his life. He dropped a fruit between the poles and had it get stuck in the middle before the Magna Guards on each side hit the poles with their staffs, having the fruit burnt in half. Your people will see you into the next world. May you find forgiveness there. Time to die, Rash said to Dendip before placing his head in the middle. Now. Stila jumped up on the two Padawans as Lux tossed her gun up to shoot the Magna Guards. Come on. Go, go, go. Blast him. Lux threw smoke grenades as the rebels grabbed both Dendip and Saw before one rebel was shot, having them surrounded as Kalani walked up. Surrender now or die. It's over. Do as they say, Dendip said to Stila, who followed before Tandon and the militia ran up to point their weapons at the droids and Rash. Stop. What? The only snake I see, sire, is you, Tandon said, holding his weapon at Rash's throat. Traitor. I was. Not anymore, Tandon said to Rash as Saw smiled before holding Rash hostage. What are you doing, General? Rash asked as the people cheered before Tandon looked at the rebels. Go. Let them through. Make way. Everyone, go with them, Tandon ordered his men who looked at him. But, sir. Go. What now, General? As soon as you release me, you'll be shot dead. Rash said as the men ran before a cloaked Ahsoka and Zul jumped over and pushed the droids. Jedi. General, follow us. Tandon pushed Rash away before running with the Padawans. After them. Kill them. Kill them. Rash yelled out before hearing the people. Dendip is the true king. We want the separatists gone. Save Dendip. Rebels. Tandon walked into the main room where Dendip was sitting and looked at the general. Why now? It was time for a new approach, my lord. Do I have your loyalty? Dendip asked Tandon, who nodded. And that of the army. You also have ours. With your rule, our numbers will grow. Stila said to Dendip, who nodded. Thanks, child. Dendip then turned to Lux and placed a hand on his shoulder. Your mother would be proud. Thank you, my lord. We must first win the will of the people. That is the only way. The separatists will assemble their forces. Count Dooku will want me dead more than ever. Dendip explained as he stood before Saw spoke. Then we'll have to teach them another lesson. Together. Later, the Padawans were reporting to their masters and Obi-Wan. The separatists know we're backing the rebels. Then prepare yourself. The real fight is about to begin. Naruto spoke up as BD stood on his shoulder. Will you be able to send some help? Ahsoka asked before Anakin looked at his Padawan. That's up to the council, Ahsoka. War in the Inner Rim. Rebel leader Stila Guerrera has joined forces with General Tandon after boldly rescuing Onderon's former king from execution, evading a trap set by separatist ally King Rash and the droid General Kalani. Amid growing public support and rising unrest, Ahsoka and Zool continue to monitor the rebels' efforts as they rally around Ramses Dendip to restore his reign as the rightful king and finally put an end to the separatist occupation of Onderon. Isis. A hologram of Dendip came up in the hologram point Stila used the other day. My fellow subjects, El appear not as your king, but as a servant of Onderon. We are in the midst of a great struggle. The Confederacy has used the recent attacks as an opportunity to tighten their hold on Onderon. They have accused me of leading these so-called terrorists. It is a lie they have engineered to further restrict your independence and use deadly force against our people. The truth is, El have never met them before now. El have come to know them as the true sons of Onderon. They are unwilling to surrender our freedom to those who conspire to take it from us. Our destiny is tied to them and this planet. We must all rise together to protect it. The people then looked at the B-1 droids around them. Oh. Why are they looking at us that way? One asked before having food thrown at him. Hey! What the? Blast him! Another shouted as a large hive-looking fruit was put on its head before he fired at the other two droids. Rebels. At a new camp in the woods Ahsoka, Zool, and Lux walked up to Saw, Stila, and Dendip. The people are turning against the droids. There's rioting in the streets now. That's a beautiful thing, Saw said with a grin as Stila petted one of the flying animals they used. We need to keep the battle to the outskirts of the city. Fewer structures and people. But fewer clankers. Their main force is in Isis. Saw spoke up after his sister. We should join the fight down there and take it straight to King Rash. We all want victory, but not at the cost of innocent lives. If we fight door to door, no one is safe. Stila said to her brother as she walked up. This is war, Stila. She's right, Dendip spoke as Ahsoka walked up. El agree. The more you draw the droids from the city to the highlands, the safer the people will be. My men await your command, my lord, Tandon said with a nod. El believe there is a new contender, Dendip said while looking at Stila. You will lead our forces. Including the royal army. Stila is now the commanding general. A great choice, Zool said, crossing her arms. As you wish, my lord. Tandon bowed before Dendip looked at him before turning back to Stila. You and your rebels renewed my faith in myself. Now, I'm putting my faith in you. Thank you, your majesty. Let's ride, she said as they all called for the birds. She then went to Lux and pulled him in for a kiss. Just in case. Palace. We are losing the public. If they turn against us, I'll fear the outcome. Rash said to Kalani as they looked at the smoke that billowed up from various parts of the city. Fear will bring them back. We must eliminate Dendip, General Tandon, and the terrorists before the people commit to their efforts. Rash sighed before turning to walk back inside. General Tandon is weak. His army will not withstand the power of the Confederacy. Neither will the terrorists. General, our scouts have located the main rebel forces in the mountains to the east. A commando droid explained walking up before Rash looked back. With the rioting in the city, how can we spare the troops to attack the rebels in the mountains? Do not underestimate our means. If the rebel army falls, the citizens will lose their courage. Then order will be restored. Kalani said before turning to see 4 circular ships fly up. Your target lies in the mountains to the east. The army will follow. Leave no survivors. Go. By your command, one ship said as 2 lines lit up in red on the front before they flew off. Rebels. In a clearing by the woods, Stila landed by the others before speaking. The droid army is almost here. Everyone, get ready. Ready. Saw, begin your attack, Stila said as they saw the army of droids walking in the distance. Saw's group flew above and dropped bombs down as Tandon's group rode in attacking animals. Stila picked off droids with her sniper. As they got rid of the droids, one rebel saw the ships flying toward them. No. Where did that come from? Lux asked before Stila saw another. There. They fired at the ships, only for nothing to work before being forced to flee from the superior firepower. As they got behind rocks and trees, Ahsoka called the Jedi. I'll take it the rebels have Dooku's full attention. Obi-Wan said as Ahsoka and Zul ducked. It's a full-scale war. They need our help. Please talk to the Council. Even Master Windu would be wary at this point. The Council will not engage or involve the Republic in an internal affair. Naruto sighed before Zul looked at him. The Separatists have a new gunship with a powerful ray shield. Nothing's getting past it. I'm sorry, they will have to find a way. Do not stay there if their failure is certain. Evacuate who you can and return to Coruscant immediately. Do you understand? Obi-Wan ordered, having Ahsoka sigh. Yes, Master. Coruscant. We need to help them. Anakin said to Obi-Wan, who sighed. We will do what we can to relocate the survivors. Before they lose their planet. Anakin walked up to Obi-Wan at that. We can't. What difference does it make now? The Separatists know we're involved. Don't disagree with you, Anakin. But to send in Republic gunships defeats our purpose. We must stay true to our intentions. Learn our lessons, Obi-Wan explained, shaking his head. It doesn't have to look like we're the ones helping. Naruto said from his spot, what if another party was involved? Another party? Who in the galaxy would be running around with an extra batch of missiles? Hondo, Naruto replied, smiling before walking out of the room. Rebels. Is the Republic going to help us? Steela asked the Padawans as they fired at the droids that came up. No. What's it going to take? King Rash rules Onderon. Unless that changes, the Republic can't do anything. Zul explained as she knelt to avoid blast fire. They're pulling back. Cover them. At this rate, the clankers aren't gonna need reinforcements, Saw explained, riding with Tandon. We have to regroup at the nest. Florum, Onaka's base. Naruto landed in his Delta-7 and saw Hondo outside the base. Uzumaki, my old friend. You come alone. For your service, Naruto said, walking up to his spy. Oh, business. Good, good, good. That, I'll understand. I'll need you to make a delivery for me. And that is all I'll am to you, Jedi. A delivery boy, Hondo asked as Naruto smiled. I'll know that if I'll need arms shipped illegally, you're the man I'll need to go to. Illegally? Now, why would a Jedi need to deliver arms illegally? How about I'll pay you well enough that you just deliver the missiles for me and don't ask any questions? Naruto asked, crossing his arms as Hondo smiled at that. Well, as long as you're not paying me in credits, I'm sure I'll could accommodate your wishes, Master Jedi. Nest. The Highlands may slow down the droids but they won't stop the gunships. Saw explained to the group in a building as Lux looked over at Ahsoka. Any word from Master Skywalker? Not yet. We're not giving up yet. Stagger our defenses to the camp. Secure the approach. Stay in small teams. Make use of our training. Steela explained as Saw smiled. You really are the best leader among us. Couldn't be more proud of you, my sister. I'll learn from the best, big brother. Let's go, General. You have to help us, Lux asked the Padawans who sighed before Zul spoke. We'll do all we can to protect you. But we can't fight this war for you. We wouldn't have made it this far without you, Steela said to the two as Ahsoka sighed. I'll wish we could do more. Wait, looks like we have company. She said as she looked out to see a ship landing by the base. They ran out as Hondo and his men brought 2 crates out. Don't shoot. Well, you could be my new favorite spice, Hondo said with a smile as he stared at Steela, who scoffed. Yeah, don't think so. Careful, pirate, Lux said, holding a pistol at Hondo. Hondo, what are you doing here? Zul asked as he raised a hand. No, 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 no. You should thank me, child. I'll have brought you a gift from Uzumaki, Skywalker, and Kenobi. He said before opening the crate, revealing rocket launchers. The latest from Sinar. Rocket launchers? Zul asked as he chuckled. Shoulder fire. Very expensive. Paid for. Very handsome. Oh, he exclaimed as 3 commando droids ran up. Oh, my, look at the time. Well, my work here is done. He finished running back to his ship with his men as the rebels took out the droids. Ah, they must have seen Hondo's ship, Steela said as the Padawans looked at her. It was only a patrol. We have to get these down to the others. Load them up, Steela said as she, Lux, and the Padawans grabbed several and got on a bird. L hope they work. There's only one way to find out. They got to saw who was firing at the ships before he looked back. We've tried everything, but we're target practice for those gunships. Now it's their turn, Lux said as Steela handed Saw a launcher. Thank the Jedi, she said before Saw ran up to the front of the tree they hid behind. Saw. He hit a ship having it crash and explode. Boom. L loved this. Yeah. Distribute the rocket launchers and take out those gunships, Steela ordered before a woman came up on her comms. Steela, they're attacking the nest. They're after the king. Come on, she yelled, turning to get back on her bird. She sure leads by example. What good will that do us if she gets herself killed? Lux asked before they followed. They returned and started fighting the droids and ship before Steela hit it with her launcher, causing it to crash. Saw nearby hit the last one, having it fly towards his sister and Dendip who was by the cliff after rescuing him. Steela pushed Dendip away as the ship crashed, having the edge crumble and her to grab on at the ledge. Hang on, Lux yelled as he ran over to help before losing his grip. And had Ahsoka grab him via the Force. I'll handle this, she said before using the Force to bring Steela up. I got you. Just as their hands were about to touch, the ship fired hitting Ahsoka, having her yell out and fall on her back just as Steela fell off the cliff while Lux shot the ship's cannon. Palace. Your gunships have failed. L need more reinforcements. Rash said to the droid before looking at Dooku's hologram. Really? General Kalani, what is your assessment of the situation? He asked the droid who turned to look at him. They have managed to penetrate our shields, and are using the cover of the Highlands against our forces. To defeat them will take time. A prolonged war does not interest me, General. The rebellion grows with every small victory. Then we are lost, Kalani said to Dooku who moved his hands behind his head. Salvage the remaining arms and withdraw the army. Bring them to Agamar. Rash stood up at that. What about? He stopped as Kalani shot and killed him. Rebels. It was my fault. L shot that gunship down. Saw said as he held his sister's lifeless body. It crashed into her position. Saw, it's not your fault. She knew what the risks were. We all knew what it would take to free Onderon. Lux explained as he knelt. Isis. Dendip stood in front of the palace as Steela's body was on a platform with a blanket over her. The Padawans stood beside their masters and Obi-Wan before Obi-Wan looked over. This has been quite a journey for our Padawans. Steela will be a powerful spirit in their lives, Naruto commented, hands on his hips. Yes, Obi-Wan replied, looking over at the body. For all of us. I'm sorry for your loss. Naruto looked over to see Ahsoka talking to Saw and Lux. Thanks, but it's over now. Let's just leave it at that. Saw said before leaving. Steela would be glad. Her sacrifice gave Onderon its freedom. Lux said as he looked over. But at what cost? It's like you once said. Many lives get caught between the Republic and the Separatists. L did say that once. Then after watching the heroics and selflessness of the Jedi, L do believe the Republic is the right side to be on. Lux explained looking at Ahsoka. What do you mean? Dendip has appointed me the new senator of Onderon. L will follow in my mother's footsteps. And L will bring us back to the Republic. He said before Dendip walked up to speak to the people. Remember this day, the day Onderon became free again. A week later, Coruscant, Naruto's house. Naruto was sitting on his couch reading a report about Ahsoka escorting younglings to get their sabers. After facing the trials and making their sabers, their ship was attacked by Hondo to get the Kyber crystals to sell only for the younglings to attack, killing 2 of the pirates before breaking free of the ship with Ahsoka being captured. Oh, he gives me such a headache. Naruto groaned before he continued to read. After reporting to Obi-Wan the attack, they finished their sabers and rescued Ahsoka by going undercover as acrobats that were traveling to Hondo's base. They are then attacked again by the pirates, forcing an immediate evacuation of the crucible before it crashes down on the Florum Plains. They are all then cuffed and taken prisoner on the pirates' tank. With the Jedi in shackles, the pirates return to their base, only to suddenly find it being paid an unpleasant surprise visit by a separatist droid army under the command of General Grievous in person. Taking the baffled band by surprise, Grievous opens a hollow communication channel through which Count Dooku contacts Onaka. The Count announces that he takes control of the planet and plans to dismantle Onaka's arsenal. When Onaka protests against this, he is swiftly incarcerated. Ahsoka argues with her captors that as with her knowledge of Grievous, she could be a valuable help for them all, whereupon the pirates release her and the younglings. Ahsoka then devises a plan to use R2 and the pirates' tank to divert the droids' attention for a bit while she and part of her entourage sneak into the pirate base and find their way to Hondo's cell. After some arguing, Hondo demands that the younglings show him their lightsabers to demonstrate their readiness for the fight ahead. All the younglings ignite their sabers, except for Katuni, who still hasn't managed to make hers work. With some encouragement from Huyang and Hondo, however, Katuni finally succeeds in correctly assembling her weapon and freeing Hondo from his electronic field shackles. The united Jedi and pirates proceed to liberate the rest of Hondo's men, and Grievous decides to cut the problem short by having the prison section leveled by his tanks. But their opposition manages to break out and flee the base with their remaining vehicles, whereupon Grievous and several STAPs give chase. Ahsoka and the other Jedi, Katuni, Hondo, and his pirates reach a hidden hangar wherein Hondo's secret ships are kept. Hondo decides to fly away from the battle at first, but Katuni succeeds in appealing to his sense of honor. After Grievous attacks, Ahsoka sends her Jedi Initiate, charges to the craft, and engages Grievous in combat to cover their escape. She then barely escapes onto the ship on her own, and before Hondo has a chance to properly repay Grievous for his cordiality, a squad of AATs forces them to withdraw for good. After praising the younglings for their success in the liberation mission, Obi-Wan invites them to form a wheel with their ignited lightsabers, formally welcoming the younglings into the Jedi Order. Naruto then stopped as Oola wrapped her arms around his neck, clad only in white panties before kissing his neck. "Come on to bed, Naruto tilde." Naruto smiled before turning to kiss her as he felt her breasts on his neck. Coruscant, meeting room. Naruto stood behind RC, who had BD standing on his back via a strap Naruto made for him, and beside Ayla as her droid, a pink astromech, QTKT, Terra and his droid, M5BZ, and Thongla with his droid, looked as Anakin walked in with R2 and Mace as Obi-Wan stood at the door. "Time is not on our side, so I'll make this short." Mace said, hands behind his back, "You droids have been chosen for a very important mission. There's an encryption module on board this separatist dreadnought." He explained, having a dreadnought come up on the table via hologram. "This device is scrambling all separatist communication in the region. We believe you 7 can get behind enemy lines, infiltrate the vault without drawing attention to yourselves, and steal that encryption module." Mace stopped as a clone walked in with a dumb series pit droid that was red and gold. "WAC-47, reporting for duty," Wack said, stopping in front of Mace. "Sorry, I am late. I thought the message said to meet in the Jedi storeroom, whatever that is." "Hey, so did I miss anything?" "You and the other droids are going to get encryption data for us in an enemy ship," Naruto commented, hands behind his head. "Fall in line, soldier," Mace said to the droid who got in the middle of the others. "So I hear we're gonna be taking out separatists," Wack said, doing shadow fighting as Mace walked to stare at Wack. "I will be honest, some of you may not make it back." "What? Why is he looking at me?" Were you just looking at me?" I was just kidding. But I have faith in your abilities. You are not ordinary droids. You've worked with the Jedi before. You are our secret weapons. Now, let me turn you over to your mission leader. The Colonel is one of our top minds at Strategic Command. He's been with the Republic since the Battle of Geonosis, Colonel Meeber Gaskin." The door opened and an alien standing at 0.33 meters walked in. He has stock eyes, green skin with darker spots, and blue eyes. His hands and feet are large in proportion to his arms and legs. He also has 3 bulbous fingers and an opposable thumb on his hands, and 3 toes on his feet, as well as large bulbs of skin underneath his chin. He's wearing military clothes that are gray. He then jumped up on the edge of the table. "Thank you, Master Windu. I'll take it from here." "May the Force be with you," Mace said as he and the others minus Naruto left. He kissed Ayla and pinched her ass before he stared at her swaying hips as Gaskin yelled, Attention. Now, I'm only gonna say this once, so turn up your audio inputs. Once we're inside the cruiser, we make our way to the C deck. That's where their communication center is housed. We bypass security here and divert the super battle droids here. Then we break the vault code, beat the swarm mines, steal the encryption module, and return home in time for my promotion ceremony to Brigadier General. Are we clear? He asked, showing the plans via hologram as Wax started to raise his hands. Good, that's what I like, no questions. D Squad, fall in line. He walked out as the droids followed with Wack getting in front. The line starts behind me, mech. Clang. And hit the side of the door as the droids went past him. Naruto helped Wack up before he spoke to the Jedi. Why are you still here? Going to help give you your upgrades for the mission, he said before they walked to the droid repair room where they saw multiple droids being worked on via a conveyor belt. Over here, you mechs, front and center, Gaskin said as another alien walked over. He has blue skin, 3 eyes, and 4 tentacles which he uses to maneuver himself. He also possessed a 3-fingered cybernetic left hand. He has goggles over his eyes and is wearing a white scientist shirt with a belt. This is Dr. Gubacher. He is. Gaskin was then interrupted by Wack. Corporal. Colonel. Right. Well, I just want to set the record straight. I am not a mech. You called us all mechs back there, but as you can see, I am a Wack. Granted, my master's not a Jedi, but I am a different class of droid, better engineering. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, Dr. Gubacher is going to equip each of you with a tactical upgrade specially designed for this mission, Gaskin said as the droids got to the conveyor belt. Alright, enough with the chatter. Let's get this show on the road. Cyclops, you're not needed here. Go prepare our shuttle for launch. Naruto sighed before reaching Wack. I've got a stealth upgrade so they won't read you when you fly. Why aren't I getting one from him? Pilots usually stay with the ship so they thought you wouldn't need one, but I thought it would be extra precaution if you were unscannable, Naruto replied as he saw Gubacher talk to R2. R2-D2, these advanced rocket boosters should give you better aerial mobility for longer periods. But be advised, the navigation controls are finely tuned. Then QT came up and had a device pop out of her head. QTKT, this coil is a remote-controlled magnet. It can attract any metal object in a 7-meter radius. But when dealing with some mines, you'll want to take care. The magnetic force is extremely powerful. U9 then came up after his upgrade. U9C4, this laser cutter will slice through most materials you encounter. But make sure you're in a locked position. The recoil packs quite a wallop. U9 tried the laser that came out of his chest before being sent back slightly as M5 came up before Gubacher looked at him. No. M5BZ, we are not putting anything inside you. We're taking something out, your memory banks. I'll be making the extraction myself in the salvage room. I am sorry, but we need to make room for the Colonel's command center. No need to baby him. He's just a droid. Gaskin walked up at that. They have feelings too. They turned to see Naruto walking up, at that. I trust mine with my life, they're my friends. I put a blaster in RC, and I've already upgraded BD with everything he needs. Naruto then walked up to the Colonel. So they better return. At the airfield, Wack was preparing the ship as BZ rolled up. What do you want, BZ? It's me, you moron. Wack jumped onto the droid as the top opened revealing Gaskin. What are you doing in there, Corporal? And how many times do I have to tell you? It's Colonel. Gaskin replied as he sat back down revealing a cockpit. Nice setup. I want to know why I did not get an upgrade from you. Because you are just a pilot. Now do your job and pilot this ship. Gaskin closed the top and rolled back as Wack went back to the seat. Just a pilot, we will see about that. Separatist airspace. Their ship appeared just outside a fleet of ships. All right, Cyclops, listen up. I want you to alert me when we are near the dreadnought. I have a plan on how to attract their attention. Gaskin said as he rolled in before Wack looked back from his seat. Relax, I already took care of it. What do you mean? What did you do? I put us on a collision course with the dreadnought. Gaskin looked to see they were flying to the ship. "See, Corporal, I am not just a pilot," Wax said before they were pulled towards the ship. "You idiot, we're caught in a tractor beam." As they got inside, two B-1 droids walked in before BD dropped on one and used his slice to hack it. The droid shot the other before his head exploded as RC had a blaster pop out of his chest. BD landed. "Nice work, short stuff Goldie," Gaskin said as they walked out into the ship. "All right, listen up. The next phase of my plan is to reach the deck. We'll take this path here." BD brought a hologram up the route as Gaskin continued. "Since the mechs won't draw much attention, we'll go in a convoy. Cyclops, you lead the way. If anyone asks, you're taking the droids on a repair job. Got it?" "Yes, sir, Captain." "It's Colonel," Gaskin yelled as they got in the ship and walked to a door. "I swear, Cyclops, you are gonna drive me crazy. Now, I want Flat Top to locate the Comvault power supply and then use his laser to cut the main line and cause a temporary loss of power. If that doesn't work, Short Stuff can use his slice." "You can do it, C4. Wax said as C4 went to a console and brought his laser out. "Oh, do not forget to lock down your..." C4 was shot back at that and fell as the console was trashed before he rolled back as Gaskin looked at them from inside BZ. "All right, listen up. Cutting the power put the Comvault security system in manual override. But someone still has to distract some super battle droids. Oh, please, please, please. Let me do it, come on, come on, come on, come on, let me do it, please. Come on, come on." Wack raised his hand at that. "All right. You will not regret this, Corporal," Wack said before turning to walk down the hall. "I am not a..." Wack got to a door with two super droids. "Halt. I have been ordered by General Grievous to test Comvault security. And I need your help. Now, follow me," Wack said turning to walk and having the droids follow to a door as the others rolled past as the backs of the super droids were turned. "Now, I will go inside the Comvault and send out a power surge. I need you two to stay here. It will not be safe for you while I am working. Are we clear?" he asked, putting them in a closet. "Yes, but..." Wack then closed the door and turned to CBD hacking the doors open. "Good. That is what I like, no questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much." "Shish, quiet," Gaskin said to the droid. "We need to keep moving. Now, we're going to infiltrate this vault, neutralize the swarm mines, and then secure the encryption module. Any questions?" "Have you ever been in a battle before?" Wack asked the colonel who sighs from his seat. "No, I have not. But if you'd care to see what I'm made of, we can go to war right now, you and me, and probably get ourselves captured by a separatist. Or we can execute my plan and come out of this mission looking like heroes. The choice is yours, Cyclops. First of all, my name is Wack. Second of all, we will execute your plan. But you have to stop calling us stupid names, Shorty." "Very well, Wack." Gaskin nodded in his droid. "I'll play nice, but only until one of you screws up again." They then went through the door and saw flying mines. "All right, Pinky. I mean, QT. This is your chance to shine. Use your magnet to attract those swarm mines." QT had her mind fly, attracting the mines as they walked on the bridge. And came up to a chip in a security force field. There it is, the encryption module. "It's all up to you now, R2. Not so fast." They turned to see a tactical droid with a group of other droids. "Arms up. Gravity. Right, turn it off, quick." Gaskin ordered R2, who turned the gravity off as QT shot the mines at the other droids, having them explode. The tactical droid grabbed onto RC before BD used Slice on him and had RC blast his head. They got the chip and then got out as they dodged B1 droids. "Get out of the way, you stupid astromechs," one said as Gaskin inside BZ looked over. "Funny thing about droids, last thing they'd expect to betray them, another droid. D squad, let's go home." They got to their ship and flew off at that. "Ah, my first mission, a rousing success and a brilliant plan if I do say so myself." Beep. "I agree, R2. The team's execution was not too shabby. Who knows, you droids might just make decent soldiers after all." "Oh, and you, too, Wack," he said to the droid as he flew. Yes, sir, Colonel. Secret weapons. The Jedi Council deploys a squad of droids on a desperate mission aboard a separatist cruiser. Under the guidance of Colonel Meeber Gaskin, the droids succeed in stealing a crucial encryption module. Now the Colonel and his droid squad must return the module to the Jedi Temple to crack a separatist code detailing an impending terror plot against the Republic. Ellipsis. D Squad. While the D Squad is on its way back to Coruscant, a comet storm intercepts their course. Wack manages to get their shuttle out of hyperspace before a collision can yield more catastrophic results, but the ship is caught in the middle of the swarm and hit by several ice comets, which disable the power feed. The astromechs manage to restore power at the very last instant, but another hit damages the ship critically and QTKT nearly ends up lost in the void of space, only for her droid comrades to save her. They then crash land on a nearby wasteland planet named. Gaskin insists on waiting near the ship, but R2-D2, who has taken possession of the encryption module, takes matters into his own hands and rolls off into the wasteland to conclude the mission. He is promptly joined by his droid comrades and, finally, Gaskin himself, who does not want to lose his prestige of being the one who made this mission a success. As the group travels across the planet, Gaskin once again begins to lose his temper and claims himself better due to his training and supposed mental flexibility while the droids, merely, act on their programming. Wack, however, manages to point out the flaws in Gaskin's reasoning, and a chance encounter with another shipwreck and the dead remnants of its crew tears the last shred of resolve from Gaskin. He then starts to go mad from heat as Wack says he'll take charge. And was promptly left by the others. They were then saved by a horde of rat-like creatures and Gaskin makes himself and Wack hitch a ride on their backs, and the creatures take them to a waterhole and a nearby city sunken into the surface of the planet, where to their surprise they find the rest of the D Squad already present. With Wack having proven himself so much like him, Gaskin field promotes the delighted droid to corporal, while the astromechs are left a bit baffled at this new development. Stranded. On a secret mission for the Republic, Colonel Gaskin and his intrepid droid squad successfully steal an encryption module from a separatist ship. During their escape, our heroes crash on the outer rim planet of Abafar and find themselves stranded in the strange wasteland called the Void. Now, after surviving against all odds, our heroes must find a way home and deliver the encryption module to crack the separatist code and stop an enemy attack. Later, in the city, Gaskin and Wack enter a diner for some refreshment while the astromechs perform reconnaissance around town to look for hostiles. But upon announcing themselves, they are shooed out by the diner's cook. Wack takes Gaskin to the side of the diner where a swarm of bugs is scurrying toward the garbage. Suddenly, a human dishwasher steps out of the diner to throw out the garbage, accidentally hitting Gaskin. Apologizing for his mistake, the dishwasher introduces himself as Gregor and offers to give him some food on the side. However, Gaskin stares at him and identifies him as a clone trooper. Gregor has no idea what a clone is and is forced to return to work. Gaskin and Wack then rendezvous with the astromechs, who confirm the presence of separatists on Abafar. Later, D Squad finds a heavily guarded landing field with a Rho-class transport shuttle. Though Gaskin insists they discreetly make their way to the shuttle, the droids point out that the separatists may be on the lookout for them after their adventure on the Dreadnought. As a head-on attack would be suicide, Gaskin decides to enlist Gregor's help. D Squad locates Gregor's apartment and gets his attention by having R2 project a hologram of Captain Rex. They explain to him his true origins as a clone, meant to fight for the Republic. Gregor is hesitant to believe them, saying he's lucky that Burkus is paying off his rent. Gaskin corrects that he's Burkus' slave. And that Gregor has amnesia. Gaskin has R2 read the identification code on Gregor's wrist, revealing him to be a commando clone. He had been presumed to miss in action in the Battle of Sarish. Recalling vague memories of the battle, Gregor agrees to assist D Squad. They then go searching for his equipment. Later, they go to Burkus' diner, only for the Celestin to come to them, revealing he has Gregor's gear. Gregor demands to know why he withheld the truth from him. Burkus explains he didn't care and reminds Gregor owes him a life debt. The clone retorts that he made him a slave and demands his gear. Burkus gets the drop on Gregor but the droids tie him up as he says separatists plan to blow up the ship after finishing with the local mine. D-Squad returns to the landing zone, confirming that Burkus was telling the truth, and they unanimously agree to save the cruiser. Gregor provides cover fire for Gaskin and the droids as they make their way to the shuttle. However, the battle droids spot D-Squad and open fire on them. A stray shot hits a rhydonium canister, knocking down BZ and Gaskin inside him. The colonel tells Wack to leave him, an order that the pit droid quickly complies with. However, Gregor comes back for him and stays behind to cover their escape. Though Gaskin and R2 insist they can save him, Gregor promises he will return home. As the separatists surround him, Gregor shoots nearby canisters, causing massive explosions. As their shuttle departs Abafar, Gaskin promises that Gregor's sacrifice will not be forgotten and they will watch for his return. Mission accomplished. Colonel Gaskin and his droid squad steal an encryption module needed to crack a separatist code and stop an impending attack on the Republic. After surviving the void and escaping the hostile planet of Abafar, our heroes finally appear to be headed in the right direction. Ellipsis. D-Squad docks with a Venator-class Star Destroyer in orbit of Abafar. Though the droids are confused as to why the ship's hangar blast doors are closed and at the lack of crew presence, Gaskin dismisses their concerns. Upon arriving on the bridge, however, they discover that the clone officers are mere holograms and battle droids start to walk around. Suddenly, the ship jumps to hyperspace and it comes to light that the ship has been commandeered by Confederacy droids. D-Squad escapes the bridge and evades their pursuers in the hangar control room. Wack uses the body of a fallen droid to send its pursuers in the wrong direction. D-Squad then takes note of a device in the control room, which R2 identifies as a bomb trigger, as the hangar blast doors open to reveal rows of rhydonium canisters. It becomes clear that the Confederacy intends to use the Star Destroyer as a way to destroy the vessels of the Republic Navy. However, Gaskin has no intention of stopping them, wanting to get off the ship as soon as it exits hyperspace. As D-Squad makes its way back to the hangar, R2 spots a rabbit droid spying on them and captures her. Upon bringing his captive to present to the squad, the rabbit droid identifies herself as BNI 393, nicknamed Bunny. She reveals that she and surviving Republic droids have been hiding on the shuttle in hopes that D-Squad would take them off the ship, as none of them are designed to pilot a shuttle. D-Squad then asks as to the Confederacy's target. Bunny admits that she only knows that the Star Destroyer is bound for a space station in the Carida system. Gaskin panics, identifying it as the location of the Republic Strategy Conference, an event he helped arrange before being assigned to D-Squad. Before they can decide on their next course of action, Gaskin spots a buzz droid spying on them and they all give chase. They chase the buzz droid to one of the gun batteries, only to be greeted by a whole swarm of them. R2 manages to create a ring of fire around his friends to keep the buzz droids from getting at them, but he cannot take out all of them because there are too many. M5BZ then races to the airlock controls. Everyone quickly magnetizes their feet to the deck to avoid being sucked out, but BZ is sucked out into hyperspace along with the buzz droids before R2 quickly closes the airlock. Gaskin then gives a short speech, promising that they will not let BZ's sacrifice be in vain by stopping the separatists. Gaskin comes up with a plan for D-Squad to escape on the shuttle while R2 reprograms the trigger mechanism to detonate prematurely. But their plan is hit with complications, as a super tactical droid goes to arm the detonator while battle droids pursue D-Squad. Gaskin and U-9C4 draw their fire while R2 tussles with the super tactical droid. As everyone gets on the shuttle, Gaskin refuses to leave R2 behind, but Wack initiates liftoff. Ultimately, R2 gets the upper hand and successfully reprograms the detonator, causing the rhydonium to explode prematurely, destroying the Star Destroyer but saving the majority of the Republic fleet at Carida. Gaskin manages to contact the space station, informing Anakin Skywalker of R2's sacrifice. However, Skywalker refuses to believe that his friend is gone. He sends out salvage teams to scour the wreckage, who retrieve R2's remains and repair him. R2. Anakin said, walking up to the droid who was getting the final touches. Naruto walked up with BD on his back and RC rolling beside him. "You made it, buddy. Hey, you're a big hero," he said as the D-Squad came over. "There's someone here who wants to speak to you." Trills. "R2-D2, are we glad to see you," Gaskin said, jumping on the table. I am most glad, Whack said before Gaskin looked over. Quiet, Whack, I'm talking here. Yes, sir, Colonel. In truth, I might just be a map reader, and I don't have much battle experience, but, R2, you are the bravest droid I have ever met. You all are. I would be proud to serve with you droids anytime, anywhere. Gaskin said, looking at the droids before Whack spoke. Oh, I am glad to hear you say that, Colonel, because I hear we have been assigned to the same platoon. We will be seeing each other every day for the rest of the war. That's great, Whack. Gaskin sighed before Naruto looked at them and Bunny. Well, let's get you all to the spa. My treat. A week later, Coruscant. 1. Naruto, wearing his jacket and pants, walked into the underground city on his way to meet Sabine. Going to the alley to meet up, Naruto stood there for over an hour before sighing. Where is she? He turned and lost his balance before he looked down to see an airbrush. Crouching, he picked it up before seeing Sabine scratched on it. This is Sabine's. He then looked up to see a freshly painted orange planet. BD. BD jumped off Naruto and scanned the picture before having a hologram come up of the orange planet. Planet Un. Un. Sabine, without her helmet, showing her orange highlighted hair in shackles and a collar, walked out of a ship to see she was in a slave camp with falling guards. She then glanced up to see a young female Zygerian in red clothing. Later, she was brought up and was painting a portrait of the Zygerian model who took Sabine as her personal slave. You appear to be quite the artist. Such talent for one so young. Model said to the Mandalorian. And such a fine specimen. I was told you didn't put up much of a fight. What can I say? I just wanted to give my captors a chance before I show my true colors. Sabine said before she was shocked. Ah. Your insolence is not appreciated. Madel yelled after she hit a button on her throne. Let me remind you who you are talking to. I am your master and you are my slave, and there is no hope of escape for you in this place. We'll see about that, Sabine muttered. What? I said I'm sorry, I don't need reminding. Later that night, Sabine was sneaking out before running into a man in a leather jacket who covered her mouth. She glanced to see BD on his shoulder before she pulled back. Naruto. Yeah, couldn't leave you here, he said as clones ran past them while star destroyers flew above the camp. They then freed the slaves and arrested Model and her men before Sabine looked at Naruto. Thanks. No problem, here. He helps her up and hands her the airbrush before looking forward. She took it before leaning up just as he turned and had them kiss. Naruto was going to pull back before she deepened it by wrapping her arms around his neck.